Chapter 413. It was too dark. Ching Yiran couldn't see clearly what the two people in the box looked like. Was it someone he knew or someone he didn't know? However, the strange feeling that had driven him to come here eventually drove him to walk in and sit down. Across the huge glass table in the box, he stared at the person sitting on the sofa. He only knew that the other person was a man, but he couldn't see clearly what the other person looked like or how old he was. "You are?" Ching Yiran frowned. A businessman who can sell you anything." Luoqiu looked at Ching Yiran. The darkness in the box was an obstacle for Ching Yiran, but for the boss of the club, there was no difference whether there was light or not. A businessman? Ching Yiran lowered his head, seemingly thinking about something. Luoqiu suddenly said in a low voice. This successfully attracted Ching Yiran's attention. He immediately raised his head. Raising his head, Ching Yiran's face suddenly became a little bit frightened. Because he could see something clearly, although it was dark here, it was not to the extent that he couldn't see clearly what was happening on the table he was leaning on. The mysterious man in front of him just stretched out his hand and wiped the glass table. Some scattered things directly appeared in front of Ching Yiran. He recognized these scattered things. They were the electric guitar that he smashed with his own hands after the quarrel with Hong Guan. Ching Yiran subconsciously reached out and picked up one of the pieces. There was a word engraved on it, "C." "Is this yours?" "It's mine." Ching Yiran nodded, but then frowned. "Is there any mechanism here? Are there any tricks on the table or—" "Forget it, I don't have time to watch you do this strange magic show. Besides, I don't know you at all." "This?" Luoqiu suddenly snapped his fingers. "Is this also a magic show?" The piece in Ching Yiran's hand suddenly flew out, together with all the pieces and parts on the table. At this moment, they all floated up one by one. They began to slowly reassemble in front of Ching Yiran. Even the broken strings were reconnected. A complete electric guitar finally fell in Ching Yiran's hands. It was too amazing. He couldn't think of any magic show that could do this. Ching Yiran rubbed his eyes hard, even subconsciously reached out to pluck the strings. "This feeling. This is my guitar." Ching Yiran suddenly raised his head, saying in disbelief, "How did you do it? What do you want?" Luoqiu didn't answer him. "And are you willing to pay something?" "I." Ching Yiran opened his mouth, both hands holding the resurrected guitar. I. It seems you haven't decided yet." Luoqiu smiled and said, "But it doesn't matter. As long as you are willing, our door is always open for you." After saying that, Luoqiu stood up, seemingly wanting to leave. Ching Yiran subconsciously called out, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Is there anything else?" This guitar." Ching Yiran hesitated for a moment. "This guitar. Just consider it a souvenir." Luoqiu said indifferently, "It is a small gift for you. Next time, don't smash such a valuable thing." Ching Yiran held the guitar more tightly in his hand. When he saw this mysterious businessman and the other figure about to leave the box, Ching Yiran gritted his teeth and suddenly called out, Can I buy something?" Ching Yiran had a very deep understanding of this principle. For an ordinary musician like him who didn't have much talent, no glamorous appearance and no economic foundation, even if it was just one opportunity, he must seize it. But he had never encountered such an opportunity. At this moment, an opportunity that subverted his understanding. This might be an opportunity. Even if the other party was a devil. I. Ching Yiran gritted his teeth and said heavily, "I want to buy it. I'm sorry." Hong Guan kept apologizing to the manager of the nightclub, bowing and apologizing. His hot-bloodedness and backbone had long been worn down by the thorny music road. For the sake of his life and family, even if the manager scolded him badly, he told himself that he must endure at least. He couldn't lose the money for tonight's performance. The manager of the nightclub snorted, "What the hell? My table was fine, but your partner threw it away just because he said he wanted to. What a character! If so, don't come to my place to sing. Who was the one who begged me to give you a chance to stay here? You almost messed up tonight's event. I'm sorry, I'm really sorry. Hongguan hurriedly said, please don't be angry. I'll definitely talk to him later. He's in a bad mood tonight and he drank a little too much, so he's in a bad mood. I think he couldn't hold it back. Besides, manager, although he was like this, he was fine later, right? I'm alone, but the guests below the stage are also quite happy. The manager waved his hand impatiently. Okay, no need to say more. Isn't it just a salary? Don't worry, I'm a kind person. I won't give you less than your share, but your singer friend, I'm sorry. Not a single cent. Tell him to get lost, I don't want to see him any more. Bah, who do you think you are, pretending in front of me? Manager, can we talk about it again? If you don't give me a single cent, that's two, let's talk about it again. The manager fiercely glared at him. The imposing manner of this nightclub for more than 10 years was enough to scare Hongguan. Besides, even you don't have a single cent. Hongguan suddenly lowered his head sadly. This was the reality. After the manager finished scolding him, he turned around and walked away. Before going out, he kicked a handful of electric shellfish on the ground and sneered, musician? Bah! Hongguan clenched his fists and gritted his teeth, but he didn't go forward. After the manager left, he silently picked up his electric shellfish. Since he decided to give it up, it didn't matter whether he picked it up or not. He said to himself. Hongguan sighed and subconsciously took out his phone. The first saved number on the home page of his phone was still Ching Yiran. Hongguan's finger on the screen several times wanted to open it, but in the end, he didn't press it. In the end, he just chose to send a short message, briefly explaining the matter, and finally wrote, "You should also calm down. I'll go back first, my wife is still in the hospital. If you have something to do, come to me. Then, it's a pity that I didn't cooperate with you for the last time." But before sending it, Hongguan was silent for a while, and deleted the last sentence one by one, changing it to, "Let's part without any hard feelings." Hongguan silently packed up his things, walked out of the nightclub, and sighed heavily. He suddenly smiled, but he didn't know what he was smiling about. He didn't choose to take a taxi. In order to save some money, Hongguan planned to take the last bus. "Hey! I'm off work, yes. I'll come to the hospital right away. It's not hard, not hard. Well, okay. I didn't eat. Oh, I forgot to eat. It's okay, I'll just buy something to eat." Hongguan talked with his wife on the phone. When they passed by a stall selling fish eggs, they subconsciously stopped. "Boss, is there anything else to eat?" Yu Danxiang, who was sitting on a folding stool and reading the newspaper, raised his head with a cigarette in his mouth and said casually, "There's nothing to eat, it's not enough for one serving. If you want to eat, you can pick them all up. I'll give you a share, 5 yuan. Okay. Hongguan nodded. Yu Danxiang stood up, holding the tools, and began to skillfully put the remaining fish, tofu, fish eggs and so on into a bowl. He suddenly glanced at Hongguan and said casually, "Bro, are you in the music business?" Hongguan gave a start, and subconsciously looked at the tools on his back. He was afraid that he would never use them again, shook his head, and said, "Not anymore." Yu Danxiang glanced again. "Why? Isn't it good to be in the music business?" Hongguan smiled. "I can't do it anymore." "Really?" Yu Danxiang nodded, and sprinkled the sauce on the packed food bowl. "Well, thanks for the 5 yuan. Hongguan paid the money, took the things, and left. After a few steps, he suddenly heard the fish egg stall owner's voice. "I've been sitting here listening to it all night, it's very nice." Hongguan suddenly stopped as he turned around and stared at the boss of this fish egg stall. He suddenly smiled and walked toward the owner. "What? Didn't you take the chopsticks?" Hongguan shook his head, but took off the electric shell and put it on the stall. "Boss, this thing, I'll give it to you." "Give it to me? I won't be polite, and I won't give it back to you. Are you really willing to give it to me? Yu Danxiang glanced at it casually, still smoking. Hong Guan just gently patted the owner's shoulder, and didn't say anything. He just lifted the box in his hand, put it in front of him, and sniffed softly, said, "This smells good, it must taste good." Yu Danxiang shrugged, sat down, put his left leg on his right knee, and read the newspaper again. For the owner of the fish egg stall, this was another strange person he had met by chance. After Hong Guan left, Yu Danxiang yawned, and also cleaned up his stall. But at this moment, a loud sound came from the nightclub in front of him. "Damn, will you die if you stop for a while?" But while listening, Yu Danxiang was a little distracted, and the innermost cigarette but fell to the ground, but he didn't notice. He subconsciously walked forward, and approached the brightly lit nightclub. Not only him, some people in the nearby nightclub, who came here after having fun, also began to look at the entrance of the nightclub. It was as if they were attracted by something. They were attracted by that deafening sound that seemed to be able to beat the world in their hearts. At the same time, inside the nightclub, the manager opened his mouth, with an inconceivable expression on his face. He looked at the crazy customers in the hall, his hostesses, waiters, and so on. All of them were like drugs, crazily swaying. "Crazy, crazy," the manager muttered to himself, but his body couldn't help but sway with the rhythm. Chapter 4:14. The craziness in the nightclub continued until 2 o'clock in the morning. Even after Cheng Yiran left the stage, the atmosphere didn't seem to be able to calm down. How should it be said? Probably, it could only be described as wanting more. That was the most primitive, most barbaric, and most exciting performance in a large-scale concert that really made the audience explode with excitement. Cheng Yiran left the stage, but the audience was still like quenching steel, burning with passion from the bottom of their hearts. Encore, 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 encore. Without the sound system, one could still hear the spontaneous and loud cries of the audience backstage. There were only a few hundred people, but it felt like tens of thousands of people were shouting at the same time. Cheng Yiran sat here alone. His hands naturally hung down on both sides of the chair. He raised his head, unconsciously looking at the light on the ceiling of the room. And that electric guitar, at this time, was quietly lying on his legs. A dreamy scene flashed in front of his eyes. The fanaticism of the audience seemed to have turned into a part of the air, absorbed into his body, integrated into his blood, heating up the big red blood, flowing all over his body. He had never had such a sweaty experience. His whole body seemed to be ignited. He had never had such a moment. He felt that he was so close to touching the expectation in his heart. All of this was because of it. Cheng Yiran lowered his head, his hands carefully holding the electric guitar on his legs. All of this was because of this electric guitar. That mysterious businessman said that it could make people fall in love with it. After it was reborn, it was endowed with a shocking magic, the magic from that mysterious businessman. Cheng Yiran suddenly wanted to share this inconceivable and joyful feeling with others. He quickly took out his phone from his trouser pocket. However, he saw a message on the screen. "Good meeting, good parting." Cheng Yiran wanted to share his feelings, but in a flash it was as if he was drenched in cold water. His finger hovered on the first name in the contact list, but he didn't really open it. Goji, Goji, Goji. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. Cheng Yiran frowned and subconsciously hung the guitar on her body again. She walked to the door, but did not open it immediately. Instead, she asked coldly, "Who is it?" "It's me, Manager Dai." Crack. Cheng Yiran frowned and said, "I'll leave after packing up." "Don't worry, I won't break your things." She had only signed an agreement with Manager Dai to sing once. Cheng Yiran was clear about this man's character. "Hey, what are you talking about? When did I come to chase you away?" Manager Dai pushed open the half-open door and walked in. He smiled and said, Little Cheng, look, the effect tonight is really good. I'm very satisfied. What do you think? Are you willing to sign a long-term contract with us? Long-term? Ching Yiran frowned. Manager Dai said, that's right. Just now, many customers said that it was too cool. Even taking drugs didn't feel so good. Next time, they still want to listen to it. Manager Dai pulled Ching Yiran's arm to make the distance between them closer. Many people said that if they don't listen to you sing, they won't come next time. Really? Ching Yiran frowned. Really? How can it not be true? Manager Dai patted his chest and said, I never tell lies. Can't you hear what I'm saying? The people in the hall outside haven't left yet. Listen to it. Isn't he still calling out "Ank Ank"? There was a large group of people still waiting for her to sing. Ching Yiran's first reaction was to be secretly happy. But at the same time, she couldn't help but be secretly frightened. The magic of this guitar was so terrifying. She suddenly became distracted. Little Cheng, Little Cheng? Little Cheng? Manager Dai gently shook Ching Yiran's arm at this time. Ching Yiran was absent-minded and said lightly, Manager Dai, I want to consider the long-term contract you mentioned. Manager Dai had seen this kind of situation many times. It was nothing more than not giving a good face to this person before. Now, this person deliberately gave a bad face to him with the intention of raising his status. Originally, this kind of hothead was very easy to deal with. To be able to open such a nightclub in this area, the boss behind must be a very capable person. Manager Dai had worked here for so many years, naturally, he didn't need to care about other people's feelings. But now, he didn't want to use the means of coercion and bribery. At least, before they shed all pretense of cordiality, he was more willing to use the policy of conciliation. Damn it! This guy is really amazing. I, who don't understand music, actually like him. It's okay. You should think it over. Manager Dai laughed, but it's better not to think for too long. You also know that our place is the most popular. How many people are fighting to get on the stage here? Although we still lack a long-term contract. But there are many people below, some of them are relatives, but I've been suppressing them all. I can't ruin this stage to drive away customers. I have to find a suitable one, right? But this can't be suppressed for too long. I'll give you an answer as soon as possible. Ching Yiran nodded and pushed Manager Dai out of the door. I'm a bit tired. I'll leave from the back door later. Then remember to give me an answer? That's a promise. Even if the door was closed, Ching Yiran could still hear Manager Dai's voice. At this time, he leaned his back against the door of the room and calmed down slightly. When he left from the nightclub's back door, the cold wind of this city, which was close to 3 o'clock in the morning, blew on his face. Ching Yiran still had a kind of unreal feeling. Maybe this was just a dream. When he woke up tomorrow, everything would be back to normal. Ching Yiran walked to a small food stall, but suddenly stopped. This place is closed, there's nothing to eat. The owner of the small food stall waved his hand. Go to the convenience store in front, it's open 24 hours. No. Ching Yiran frowned, walked forward, pointed at the small folding stool, and said in a deep voice, This thing, where did you get it? This? The owner opened his mouth, then shrugged. Someone gave it to me. Just now, a young man. Why, you like it? I'll sell it to you for 500. I just took a look, it's still quite new, it should be worth some money. He gave it to you? Ching Yiran took another step forward, grabbed the owner's collar with both hands and almost roared, He gave it to you? Why did he give it to you? How can he give it to you? Damn. Are you trying to be unreasonable? The owner of the small food stall abruptly grabbed Ching Yiran's arm and twisted, easily twisting her shoulder away. Let me tell you, you Danqiang, am not here for nothing. Back when I came out to make a living, you were still wearing your pants. Let me go. Ching Yiran instinctively cried out in pain. Yu Danqiang pushed her away, frowning, and said, If it was 10 years ago, I would have cut off your arm. Ching Yiran gritted her teeth. not daring to approach. She calmed down and hesitated. The person who gave it to you, did he say anything else? I forgot, young man, such a small matter is like a dead mother. Yudanxiang Yan shook his head, turned around and continued to tidy up his stall, saying casually, "This is mine, you can take 500 if you don't want it, leave." Qing Yiran lowered her head, sighed, and didn't say anything. She silently looked at the bag placed there, sighed again, and turned to leave. On the other side where Hong Guan had left. Damn, he really left? Yudanxiang turned around in shock, stretched out his hand, and said, "How about 300? Just 300, 200. 150, damn, 120, no less. Damn, this thing is really worthless." Yudanxiang shook his head, and continued to tidy up the file. "Is it really only 120? Then sell it to me." Suddenly, Yudanxiang heard a voice behind him. He turned around, and saw a younger man accompanied by a woman. He didn't know when they had come here. Oh, there's a beautiful woman accompanying him. He's probably some rich kid who came out to have fun? Such a calm demeanor. 120 was the price just now it's 300, no, 500. Yudanxiang raised his eyebrows. Saying a price means a decision. The young man smiled and asked, "Do you think this is the right price?" Yudanxiang was stunned and thought to himself, "Does this guy feel uncomfortable if he doesn't get ripped off? Right. This guy is planning to show off in front of the beautiful woman beside him, right? TSK, these rich kids. If you don't think it's expensive, you can take it for 1,000. The beautiful woman beside the young man walked over, put down the money, and directly picked up the item, and finally said slowly, "Keep it well." Yudanxiang suddenly shivered. He saw clearly that the woman's eyes were blue. Chapter 4:15. Of course, Brother Shaoxing couldn't stay in the nightclub anymore. He was soaking in a water tank on the roof of a building. Until the water in the big water tank boiled completely, Brother Shaoxing jumped out. He felt much better after the cold wind blew. But the woman who made him so embarrassed, and whose background he didn't know. Let's call her a woman for now. What's her background? Brother Shaoxing squatted on the roof of the building. If it was a great demon, it was impossible that he had not seen it before. As for malicious ghost, the ghost king of Fengdu, who was known as the most powerful one in the divine land, was actually just a water ghost rising city god. He was just a weakling who lived up to his name. Should I ask Long Shirua some other day? It's a bit humid recently. Should I make a fire pot? Thinking of this, Brother Shaoxing reached out and pulled out a strand of hair from the back of his head. He rubbed the hair and then blew it away. The strand of hair instantly exploded, and then transformed into a mist-like, mirror-like thing in front of Brother Shaoxing's door. Good guys, let me see what you are. Before Brother Shaoxing could finish his words, his face slightly changed. The mirror in front of him exploded again in an instant. The exploding water mist even covered his face. Brother Shaoxing reached out and scratched his face. After blinking his eyes a few times, he bared his teeth. "Good guy, you found it so quickly." Brother Shaoxing jumped down from the building. His body jumped nimbly between the gaps of the buildings as if he was in the jungle. He planned to go back to his own place, to change his clothes and comb his original hairstyle. Su Zijuan sat straight in front of Chichi Kamaya with her arms in her arms, and shook her legs. Chichi Kamaya wanted to ask if she could pay attention to her manners, but after looking into the eyes of this extremely troublesome girl, the manager of the Elysium bar pretended not to see it. Chichi Kamaya sighed. Fortunately, Her Majesty was not here. Otherwise, if he saw her shaking her legs, he would be so angry that he would explode and jump out of his coffin. Suddenly, Su Zijuan opened her eyes. When Chichi Kamaya saw her, he broke out in a cold sweat. "Princess, what's the matter?" "Time's up." Su Zijuan frowned and said, "What's the result you want to give me? Quick. I have a disgusting feeling right now, and I don't want to stay here for even a moment longer." But the person I sent hasn't returned yet. I can't do anything about it. Chichi-Kamaya wiped his sweat and said, Princess, can you wait a little longer? Do you want me to find something delicious for you? Would the blood of a young female bobcat do? Besides, isn't there still a quarter of an hour left? There's no hurry. No need. Su Zijuan stopped shaking her legs and suddenly stood up. Inform me if you have any news. I'll leave now, right away. Yes, Princess. Chichi-Kamaya put his hands together and bowed to Su Zijuan respectfully. See you off, Princess. I don't need you to see me off. I won't be able to walk out of here even if the sun rises. Su Zijuan said and opened the door without looking back. At this moment, a middle-aged man wearing a bartender's uniform hurriedly ran over. Manager, I got the thing you asked me to ask. The middle-aged man just looked at Su Zijuan strangely. He didn't know who this girl was, but he knew that Manager Gue was very respectful to her, so she was a new worker. Oh, you got it? Chichi-Kamaya nodded with a smile and said slowly, then, just say it. Su Zijuan interrupted Chichi-Kamaya's slow words with a commanding tone. The middle-aged man nodded and didn't dare to hesitate. He quickly said, I asked a lot of monsters. There was indeed a guy who saw Shu Yu coming here last night. But he left later. Alone or with someone? Su Zijuan asked in a deep voice. The middle-aged man said, I also asked this. He left alone. However, when it was almost daytime, a drunk longhorn beetle came home and said that he saw Shu Yu near his home. But he disappeared after a few calls. Where is his home? Oh, not far. It's just a hill in the suburbs. There's no name. It's just a wild hill. Really? Su Zijuan lowered her voice. Indeed. The middle-aged man nodded. This girl gave off a terrifying aura of oppression. Su Zijuan pondered for a moment and suddenly said, Where is that longhorn beetle? Oh, he's still drinking downstairs. The middle-aged man smiled and said, This poor guy. I don't know if he's rich recently. He comes here every 2 or 3 days and orders expensive things. Bring him to see me. Su Zijuan nodded, but suddenly frowned and changed her mind. No, take me to see him. Save time. It's too late. Su Zijuan's face suddenly changed. Before Chichi-Kamaya and the middle-aged man could react, she broke the window and jumped down to the bar below. The girl's landing posture was very elegant. However, someone jumped down from the broken window. Although she didn't hit anyone, it was impossible for the guests here not to see it. Everyone, all the monsters, looked at Su Zijuan. Ghost Baby, who was guarding a small butterfly, was startled at this time. He quickly ran forward and asked with a frown, Big sister, what's the matter? Did the old dirty guy offend you? Chichi-Kamaya doesn't dare to offend him. Su Zijuan said indifferently. She glanced at the scene and said directly, Which one is the longhorn beetle? Come out, I have something to ask you. Among the crowd of demons, there was a dumbfounded expression on their faces. Only one figure seemed to shrink back slightly at this moment. Su Zijuan had good eyesight. She snorted, Found you. She didn't do anything. She just disappeared in front of the monsters and then appeared in another place. Was that a movement? Who is this? She seems quite powerful. A drunk old water buffalo rubbed his confused eyes and asked his drinking friend. I don't know. But the smell of blood is very strong. The monsters were discussing, and the disc jockey in the bar turned off the music instantly. At this time, Su Zijuan lifted up a guy whose body was completely different from hers with one hand. This guy's feet were off the ground, but he was still running away. He was actually less than 1 meter tall. Who are you? I didn't offend you. Let me go. This longhorn beetle monster said in horror. He only felt that the blood in his body seemed to be flowing backward, and his heart rate was rising rapidly. You don't need to worry about this. Su Zijuan pulled him over and said indifferently, You just need to tell me where you live and where you saw Shu Yu. If you tell me you can eat and drink here for free for the next month. Okay. No problem. The longhorn beetle monster was so excited that he didn't care whether he was scared or not. Wait for me outside and I'll go out immediately, Su Zijuan quickly whispered in Longhorn Bull's ear. Then, she reached out and pushed Longhorn Bull out of the group of monsters. Longhorn Bull lay in front of the door of the bar. Without looking at the Longhorn Beetle's movements, Su Zijuan turned around and said, "Let's go, little butterfly." "Where is she?" Su Zijuan suddenly frowned, because she didn't see Luo dance in front of the bar counter who was supposed to be there. "Ghost Baby, where is the person I brought?" "Ah." Ghost Baby looked around blankly. "This? Big sister, I saw her lying here just now. Could it be that he took advantage of the chaos just now to escape by himself? She shouldn't go anywhere, maybe she's still here." Su Zijuan frowned and sniffed. But there were too many monsters here, so she couldn't find the smell of Luo Dance's blood in an instant. "Big sister? It's too late." Su Zijuan quickly said, "Listen, Ghost Baby. If she is still here, you must take good care of her. If anyone dares to touch her, you will kill them, no matter how powerful they are." "Got it." After saying that, Su Zijuan flashed away and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Ghost Baby knew that this big sister had left. He didn't wonder why Su Zijuan left in such a hurry, because almost at the next moment, the boss of the Elysium bar came back. At this moment, the iron plate above the bar suddenly opened up, and a figure stood at the opening, looking down and opening his hands. "Ah, Zijuan, my love. Is it you? My heart is beating fast from afar, and I can't help it. Hey, where is she? Boss, your pants fell off." The wind blew at his crotch, making him feel cold. Would he be punished if he went back? Taiyinzi held the bag that the boss just bought with a heavy heart. As a black soul messenger who believed in rock, he certainly knew what was in the bag. But Taiyinzi was very sensible and restrained his impulse to fiddle with it. He just lowered his head and followed the boss silently from about 10 meters away. As for why he didn't follow up? The boss was walking with Miss Servant Girl at this moment. On the quiet street of Lingqing City at 3:00 p.m. There was no one there. Back and forth are all thoughts, it's not bad to walk like this occasionally. Luoqiu looked at the night sky. There was no special meaning, just the basic etiquette of sending a female companion back after attending a concert. The boss said, Yu Yi is his female companion tonight. A female companion was different from a maid, so he naturally had to send her off. "Master, here we are." Seeing the door of the club, Yu Yi turned sideways. For Miss Servant Girl, this might be the first thing she experienced in her life. Luoqiu suddenly smiled and looked forward. "I didn't expect that there would be a guest." "Yes." Miss Servant Girl smiled and followed the boss's gaze. On the road, a staggering figure was coming towards them. She had a silly smile and a blush on her face. She was holding a bottle of something in her hands and burping while walking on the roadside. A pair of colorful wings spread out behind her. She was Luo Dance, the little butterfly monster who had just ascended. Yu Yi smiled, seems to be drunk. Chapter 4:16. Brother Shaoxing was sitting in the office with the broken glass. It should be said that he was squatting. As for the place where he was squatting, it was the only desk in the office. Brother Shaoxing pointed at the broken floor-to-ceiling glass window and blinked. "Oh? You said she didn't come, and Ghost Baby didn't know. Then Chi-Chi Kamaya, tell me who broke it, and so many monsters downstairs just had an illusion." "Well, in my opinion, they should be under a collective illusion," Chi-Chi Kamaya said slowly with his hands retracted. Brother Shaoxing slammed the table and jumped down, almost hitting in front of Chi-Chi Kamaya. He widened his eyes and said, "Old turtle, you don't believe that I can break your turtle shell? Boss, you have already broken it once when you were drunk at the beginning of this month." Chi-Chi Kamaya said seriously, "So I believe it." Brother Shaoxing suddenly scratched his ears and cheeks and flew into a rage. Finally, He stretched out his hand to tidy up Kamaya's clothes and said kindly, "Ha, Master Turtle, Grandpa Turtle, I just broke it a little last time. How can you be so calculative with me about such trivial things? Grandpa Tortoise, please take pity on me and tell me directly, is Zijuan really back?" "Boss, when you asked me to be the manager, we had 3 rules. Gui Qianni said calmly. You promised me that you wouldn't ask me about the princess, so I stayed. Boss, are you going to break your promise?" Brother Shaoxing suddenly pulled Kamaya's mouth. Kamaya, do you really not understand, or are you pretending to be confused? Why did I promise you? Isn't it because I know that your princess will come back to find you, so I kept you? Kamaya sighed and said, "Boss, you are a good person. Although you don't mean what you say, you still took us in. No matter what, I respect you. But I am loyal to the princess." Pedantic. Brother Shaoxing suddenly let go of Kamaya and shook his head. "Forget it. If you don't tell me, can't I find it myself? Since he's back, I don't believe that I can't find him." "Thank you for your understanding, boss." Kamaya slowly bowed and said, "Boss, are you really not going to change your clothes?" Brother Shaoxing. Son Shaoxing was stunned for a moment. He subconsciously touched his bare butt. I forgot. Luo Dance woke up in such a situation. Her mouth was dry, her head seemed to be pressed by 2 hands, and she even felt nauseous. When she woke up, she couldn't remember what had happened at all. She just looked around and felt strange. This was not the room in the pet center that she was used to sleeping in. Little Butterfly couldn't describe the style of this place, but it was different from the modern style she was used to. The floor seemed to be made of wood, and the style of the bed, what a big bed! She even had an impulse to roll on the bed. As for whether it was dangerous in a strange place, she didn't seem to think about it at the first time. Maybe it was because of her personality, or her brain was not fully awake, so she couldn't think too much at once. Luo Dance held the white pillow and lay on the bed. She was in a daze for a while, then suddenly sat up. "Oh no! Sister Zijuan! Uncle Mouse Monster!" Little Butterfly knocked on her head with some annoyance. "How could I forget?" Muttering, Luo Dance quickly jumped down from the bed. Her smooth feet stepped on the wooden floor. The cold feeling made her a little uncomfortable. "Where are my shoes?" Luo Dance tilted her head. Not only she couldn't find her shoes, but also the clothes on her body didn't seem to be the one she wore yesterday. It was a white nightgown. It was a little short, probably just above her knee. Little Butterfly squatted down, bent over, and put her head under the bed to look for it. But at this time, the door of the room opened. "Are you looking for something?" Because she put her head under the bed, strictly speaking, it was a very indecent posture for a normal person. After all, her skirt was lifted up, and she could vaguely see between her legs. But after all, monsters were not human beings, and Little Butterfly, who just mingled in human society, didn't have too many concepts. As for the owner of the voice, Miss Maid naturally didn't intend to avoid anything. Thus, the Little Butterfly monster woke up from her hangover and met the maid from the club by looking upside down between her legs. You are. Little Butterfly was so surprised that she suddenly raised her head. But it was too fast and too inexplicable, so her head heavily knocked on the bed, making a sound. Miss Maid smiled and walked into the room. After putting down the things in her hands, she came over and helped Little Butterfly up, saying softly, "I'm Yu Yi." "Oh yes. I'm Yu Ye's sister." Luo Dance rubbed her head and blushed. "Sorry, I didn't remember." "It's all right." Yu Yi shook her head gently. "I've washed your clothes. Come down after you put them on." Luo Dance glanced at the neatly folded clothes on the plate, her clothes from yesterday, and even her shoes. The shoes looked very new. It seemed like they had been washed inside and out. Why? Luo Dance asked subconsciously. Yu Yi smiled faintly. "Have you forgotten? Last night, you vomited all over my master's body." Ah! Luo Dance suddenly jumped up with a pale face, partly because of the hangover and partly because of the fright. But you didn't vomit, Miss Maid added at the end. You scared me. Luo Dance breathed a sigh of relief and patted her small chest. But, Miss Maid suddenly said. Little Butterfly immediately raised her voice, fearing that she would hear something even worse from this servant girl. But what? Yu Yi chuckled. Next time, don't show your underwear when you wear a nightdress. It's very inelegant for a girl to do so. Luo Dance followed Miss Maid cautiously and walked down the stairs. She didn't know where she was before going down the stairs, but after going down, she found that the place she was at was the club. When she looked past Miss Maid and saw the boss sitting at a small round table, she secretly stuck out her tongue. She didn't make him unhappy, did she? Little Butterfly was faintly worried. At this time, Luochio was reading the newspaper, drinking half of the black tea in front of him and eating the food on the plate. Boss Luo, who was turning the newspaper, raised his head. You're awake. Are you hungry? I've prepared some food for you. Yu Yi, go and take it out. Little Butterfly had already eaten up a thick Xinhua dictionary, so she naturally knew the meaning of the word elegant. At this time, she felt that Sister Yu Yi in front of her was really a good example of elegance. She nodded slightly with a perfect smile, which made people feel like bathing in the spring breeze. Then she turned around and put her hands on her waist. Every step she took, her body swayed very little. Little Butterfly even thought that if a book was put on Sister Yu Ye's head, it probably wouldn't fall down. Chapter 4:17. The servant girl who went to get the food hadn't come back yet. Luo Dance had sat down, but she grabbed her trousers with her hands and straightened her back. She didn't dare to look sideways, and didn't dare to say a word. At least, she didn't dare to say anything before the boss opened his mouth. Do I look scary? Luochio suddenly asked curiously. I remember you weren't so nervous when you came here for the first time. That's because. The little butterfly raised her head and then shrank back, saying in a low voice, because I didn't know what? Didn't know you were so powerful. Luo Dance's voice became lower. Am I stupid? If I offended you, please forgive me. As if this was not enough to express her apology, Luo Dance quickly stood up and bowed to apologize. I'm sorry. Last time I asked you to accompany me to see Little Black and Little White, and the time before that, every time I see you, I don't know why, but my mood will be inexplicably better. Luochio shook his head and waved his hand to let the little butterfly sit down again. He smiled. We don't have the rule of asking customers to apologize. Just relax. Is that so? Luo Dance opened her eyes wide with a puzzled look. Luochio just smiled and didn't say anything. He turned to a new page of the newspaper and continued to read. What are you reading? The little butterfly monster, who didn't feel so nervous, asked with puzzlement. Something interesting. Luochio looked at the little butterfly monster and said casually, Someone took a picture of an unidentified flying object last night. An unidentified flying object? Luochio nodded and said, There's a report here that a tramp claimed to have met an immortal last night, who pulled him up to the sky and flew to a faraway place. The little butterfly monster blinked. Immortal? Oh yes. Luochio flipped to another page. It says here, well, the owner of this convenience store said that it was robbed in the middle of the night. However, the thief didn't seem to have stolen any money. He just drank all the milk and honey in the shop and threw the boxes on the ground. Luo Dance suddenly burped, and then quickly covered her mouth. And let's talk about it here. Luochio glanced at the little butterfly monster, whose ears were starting to redden, smiled and said, There are more than a dozen people whose pets inexplicably ran to the street in the middle of the night. When they woke up in the morning, they found that these pets were all in an open space. It looks like... What does it look like? It looks like he's drunk and messily stacked together. I don't know what he went through. After saying this, the club's boss finally couldn't hold it in anymore. He clenched his hand into a fist and gently pressed it against his lips, unable to hide his smile. And, don't say any more. The little butterfly monster's face was extremely red like boiling water. She subconsciously said, You're so bad. Luocio took a deep breath and put down his hand. The happy smile on his face gradually faded, and he became quiet once more. Luocio folded the newspaper and put it down, saying softly, I'm sorry, I seem to have lost my composure. No. It's nothing, Luo Dance muttered. As the boss read the information in the newspaper, some intermittent pictures began to flash in her mind. I don't know what's wrong with me. Is my brain broken? The little butterfly monster looked at him pitifully and said with fear, I've never been like this before. Luocio suddenly waved his hand and a bottle on the club bar flew into his hand. I found this on you last night. It's really high in sugar and tastes good. But for you, the concentration of alcohol is probably a bit high. Do you like drinking this kind of thing? Luo Dance was afraid of being misunderstood. She quickly waved her hand and said, No. I drank it for the first time. I didn't know it would be like this. I won't dare to drink it again. Luocio knocked on the bottle and said, It's not like something you can buy in an ordinary convenience store. The little butterfly monster didn't intend to hide it. Oh, I got it from the Elysium bar. The bartender Uncle Boar gave it to me. He said it tasted good and was suitable for girls to drink. I didn't expect it would be like this. Uncle Boar is so bad. Uncle Boar. Bar? Luocio was quite curious. What's the Elysium bar? Master, it's a place for monsters to drink and have fun. He saw Miss Maid holding a plate in both hands and slowly walking towards him. Yi explained while putting the plates and tools in front of the little butterfly monster. It's in the abandoned industrial park in the west. Monsters living in this city or other places passed by and looked for it. It seems that this bar should be famous in the circle of monsters in the east. Speaking of this, Miss Servant Girl glanced at the little butterfly monster and smiled. It should be similar to the hospital where Miss Dance works now. As for other things, I don't know. Yi didn't go in and just took a look from afar. Luocio nodded. Later, he learned from Yi that the club was opened not long ago. Miss Servant Girl naturally didn't go out because of the former boss. Luocio thought that Yi should have already memorized the map of this city. She went to buy vegetables every day, so naturally, she was familiar with everything known or unknown about this city for her master. I haven't been there. A bar for monsters to drink? I'll find some time to go and have a look. Okay. Luocio thought for a while and suddenly looked at Luo Pianran. How's Miss Long recently? Little Butterfly could interject. She had a strange feeling. She felt that when the boss and Sister Yi talked, they seemed to be in another world. Even if she was here, she didn't feel like she was here. She couldn't describe the contradiction between being here and not being here. She just felt that he and Sister Yi were very far away from her. Ah? Do you know my sister Long? We've met several times. Luocio whispered. If you go back and see Miss Long, please tell her that I'm sorry for offending her last time. If she needs it, I'll treat her with the best discount. Okay. Little Butterfly nodded obediently. I know. Luocio smiled. Can you still eat? Luo Dance was stunned and then looked at the things in front of her. She blinked and asked in surprise, What's this? It's so beautiful. Layers upon layers of gold and milky white were stacked on top of each other on an exquisite white porcelain plate. Beside the plate, there was a very beautiful pattern of wings outlined with strange red lines, as well as green leaves that were used to decorate it. It's just a simple French jelly. Yi whispered. The golden layer at the bottom is made of lychee honey. The upper layers are osmanthus honey, jujube honey, locust honey and wild honey. As for the white ones, they are obviously ordinary pure milk, watery milk, goat milk and coconut milk. I didn't have enough materials, so I only used a little cold sky powder to freeze it into a jelly and spread it layer by layer. As for the red part, it's made of sugarcane juice and then boiled with saffron and maple syrup. As for the side dish, it's made of mint leaves. After the introduction, the maid smiled and said, Miss Pienchien, please enjoy your meal. How was it simple? She didn't understand. The little butterfly monster listened in a daze. Her eyes stared at the crystal clear, bright and soft things on the plate. She didn't know where to start. I don't want to eat it. This Sister Yu Yi is so awesome. Super awesome. Can I take it back? Luo Dance finally came up with a solution that was not considered a compromise. In the end, Luo Dance still couldn't take it away. Instead, she swallowed it, because Miss Maid said that it wouldn't last long and would melt, which would affect the taste. Looking at the clean plate, the little butterfly demon felt a great sense of guilt. Just as she was considering whether or not to lick the wings drawn with the syrup on the side clean, she suddenly jumped in fright. It was the sound of a large old pendulum clock on the side of the club lobby. Ah! It's already 10 o'clock. Luo Dance was stunned and jumped up. It's so late. It's just a hangover, it's nothing. Luochio whispered. It doesn't matter once in a while. No. Luo Dance hurriedly said, I'm going to open the restaurant. Oh no, oh no. Because she was in a hurry, Little Butterfly accidentally kicked a corner of the table. She lost her balance and fell to the ground with her chin on the floor. Chapter 4:18. Well, it's all right. You didn't bite your tongue. Yu Yi opened Butterfly Monster's lips and checked carefully before putting down the cotton swab in her hand. It's just a scratch on the surface of your mouth. With your physique, it should be healed in a few minutes. Thank you. Luo Dance thanked her very seriously. Little Butterfly really felt that she had lost a lot of face today. She secretly glanced at the boss and found that he seemed to have returned to his previous appearance. The childlike smile just now, was it an illusion? Ah, I remember. Luo Dance suddenly raised her head and stood up quickly. I really have to go back. There's something urgent. With this, Luo Dance rushed out of the club and pushed the door open. It's very interesting. Luochio looked at the two swinging door panels with a small arc on his face. It seems that the master likes Miss Dance very much. Yu Yi smiled and began to clean up the tableware on the table. When Luochio was about to say something, the bell in front of the club rang. Luo Dance rushed in again and trotted on the same spot. Boss, I have something to do. If I can't solve it, can I come to ask for your help? Looking at Luo Dance's serious face, Luochio nodded and said, Of course, the door here will always be open for you. Whoa. Luo Dance nodded. Then I'm leaving. It's really too late. Her figure was like the wind. After finishing her words, the little butterfly monster ran away again. Luochio and Yu Yi smiled at each other. But this time when the servant girl wanted to say something, she was interrupted again. Jingle. The bell on the door rang again. The little butterfly monster didn't come in this time, but stood in front of the door. Looking at Luochio and Yu Yi, she took a deep breath and bowed hard. I forgot. Boss, Sister Yu Yi, thank you for your hospitality. The doorbell hadn't rung for a long time, and the butterfly monster had stopped coming and going. She was probably far away by now. Luochio lowered his head and smiled. Suddenly, he reached out and grabbed a black pouch from the side. He took out the item inside, a handful of electric bess. The electric bess that Hong Guan had given to someone else. It was the electric bess that Boss Luo had bought from Yu Danqiang. The electric bess had the word Tian engraved on it. Boss Luo put it on himself and moved his fingers casually. Then he looked at Miss Maid and answered her question, Isn't such a beautiful thing worth liking? Yu Yi sat down beside the boss and silently accompanied him. So there's a built-in audio device. Not bad. Luochio fiddled with it a few more times and said with a smile, Let's play a simple solo. Luochio asked, Is that okay? Yu Yi said, Okay. This was a world that only belonged to him and her. Luo Dance not only remembered that she had to go back to the pet center to open the door, but also remembered that she had more important things to do. After leaving the club, her first reaction was to rush back to the pet hospital to see if Su Zijuan had come back. But when she returned to the pet center, she found that Su Zijuan hadn't come back for the whole night. But Ant Rat Monster Shu Xiaoshu and Cheese had been waiting there for a long time. Sister Zijuan didn't have a mobile phone. Little Butterfly Monster found that she couldn't contact Su Zijuan at all. Looking at Ant Rat Monster and her son, she didn't know what to do for a while. What should I do? Shu Xiaoshu began to cry again. She was no different from an ordinary human housewife. Except for being a good wife, her only advantage was that she was able to give birth. Aunt Luo Dance felt sad for a while, but she didn't know how to comfort her. She had the feeling of losing a family member, but she couldn't forget it even if she wanted to. At this time, the back door of the pet center opened and Su Zijuan walked in expressionlessly. Sister Zijuan, you're back. I'm sorry, I don't know what I did last night. Oh, let's not talk about this. Have you found the news of Uncle Rat Monster? Madam, do you have any news of my husband? Shu Xiaoshu came forward at once. Su Zijuan looked at the anxious Shu Xiaoshu and Cheese, took out a ring from her clothes and showed it to them. This is Shu Yu's. Shu Xiaoshu was stunned and took the ring with trembling hands. This is our wedding ring. He always wore it on his finger and never took it off. Why? Since it's really Shu Yu's, you can take it back and keep it as a souvenir. Su Zijuan said indifferently, don't look for him anymore. He's dead. What? Impossible. Shu Xiaoshu suddenly went crazy and grabbed Su Zijuan's hand. You lied to me. I don't believe it. At this time, Su Zijuan's eyes suddenly turned red. She waved her arm and an invisible force directly threw Shu Xiaoshu and her son out of the back door of the pet hospital. I've done what you asked me to do. Su Zijuan snorted. This ring is the answer. Shu Yu is dead. This is a fact. Don't think you can push me because you're pitiful. Be careful or I'll drink all your blood. Now get out. Not only the bloody eyes but also the sharp teeth. The huge momentum from the big monster instantly crushed all the defenses of the mother and son at the bottom of the monster world. Shu Xiaoshu felt a chill from the bottom of her heart. She subconsciously hugged the shivering Cheese, lowered her head and cried. She gritted her teeth and staggered away step by step. Sister Zijuan Luo Dance looked at Su Zijuan's appearance in horror. She saw a handful of long hair scattered behind her back. She didn't know whether Su Zijuan's appearance was really horrible at this time. She just felt that the atmosphere suddenly became extremely depressing. Do you want to bother me too? Su Zijuan didn't look back and said indifferently. No, Sister Zijuan, what happened? Shu Yu is dead. This is the answer. Su Zijuan snorted, waving her sleeves and turned away. I'm going to sleep during the day. Don't bother me. She walked towards the inner room, but after a few steps, she suddenly fell to the ground. Sister Zijuan. The little butterfly monster was shocked. She quickly ran over and shook the body. Su Zijuan's body was always cold, but this time it was much colder than before. She turned over Su Zijuan's body and saw a trace of blood overflowing from her mouth. Sister Zijuan, are you hurt? Go away, leave me alone. Go away. Su Zijuan said weakly. Go, Sister Zijuan. Su Zijuan's eyes turned extremely red in an instant, showing a crazy color. Her canine teeth seemed to grow a little longer. She reached out and grabbed Luo Dance's arm, biting down directly. She crazily sucked the blood of the little butterfly monster. Zijuan. Sister. The little butterfly's consciousness gradually began to fade away. The sky had completely darkened. When Su Zijuan opened her eyes, she found that she was lying on the bed in the room, and the little butterfly monster was lying on the edge of the bed. Su Zijuan struggled to support her body, which seemed to wake up Luo Dance. Luo Dance raised her head slowly. Her face was pale and scary. But when she saw Su Zijuan wake up, she showed a joyful smile. Sister Zijuan, you wake up, Su Zijuan frowned. She suddenly grabbed Luo Dance's arm and pulled open her sleeve. She saw the bite mark on her arm and the dry skin around the bite mark. Sister Zijuan, shut up! Su Zijuan snorted. Then she grabbed Luo Dance's other arm and pulled open the sleeve. She also saw the same bite mark. She put down Luo Dance's arm and frowned. I can't control myself when I need blood, but I still remember. I remember that I just bit one side. What happened to the other side? Luo Dance lowered her head. She was afraid of angering Su Zijuan. She said carefully, Sister Zijuan, you fell asleep later, but you still looked very tired. I was afraid. I was afraid that the blood was not enough, so, are you going to bite me on the other side as well? Su Zijuan was furious. I'm sorry. Aren't you afraid of death? Her eyes turned dark red again because of anger. She scolded in a low voice, Aren't you afraid that I'll suck all your blood? Luo Dance raised her head and said stubbornly, But I'm also afraid that Sister Zijuan will die. Su Zijuan pursed her lips. She wanted to say something, but she didn't say it. Looking at Luo Dance's pale face and firm eyes, she always felt that she was very far away from her, like two individuals in two different worlds. Chapter 419. Su Zijuan put her hands on her waist, raised her head, and raised the bottle in her hand. She drank up the red liquid in the milk bottle blood. Su Zijuan heaved a heavy sigh. She wiped the corner of her mouth and sat down. She crossed her legs and looked at Luo Dance, who was still pale. She said indifferently, You don't want to take the blood of so many monsters from me. You insist on using your own blood. Don't you think you are stupid? Luo Dance was stunned. After thinking for a while, she said surprisingly, Sister Zijuan, you didn't use the blood for testing, but drank it yourself. Su Zijuan sighed and shook her head. One day, you will piss me off. You should be angry at least for a while. Why should I be angry? Little Butterfly asked with her head tilted. The bottle in Su Zijuan's hand was broken by her slightly hard grip, and the glass shards were scattered all over the floor. But seeing this, the little butterfly monster hurriedly stood up. Oh no, Sister Zijuan, did you hurt your hand? Oh, it's dirty. You have to clean it up quickly, or Sister Long will be angry when she comes back. Looking at Luo Dance, who wanted to get the cleaning tools, Su Zijuan gritted her teeth and stood up. She pulled Luo Dance's arm and pulled her to the bed. Su Zijuan turned over and sat on Luo Dance's body. Then she bent down so that the tip of her nose almost touched the tip of Butterfly Monster's nose. She looked at her like this. Sister Zijuan? What's wrong? Luo Dance asked confusedly, although she was pressed down. Look at me, look at my eyes. Su Zijuan said indifferently, Do you see these red eyes? Let me ask you, are you afraid of this pair of red eyes? Luo Dance looked at her carefully for a while and suddenly said, Sister Zijuan, are you heaty? Is there something in your eyes? Do you want me to wipe it for you? This was embarrassing. Su Zijuan coughed twice and got up from the butterfly monster's body. She sat on the edge of the bed and remained silent. Luo Dance also sat up. Sister Zijuan, are you still not feeling well? Shall I get you some more blood? All right, there's no need. You don't have to be so concerned about me. Su Zijuan shook her head and looked at the little butterfly. Her lips moved slightly as if she wanted to say something, but after a while, she suddenly said, Did that rat demon come again? You mean Ant Mouse Monster. Luo Dance shook her head. She hasn't been here. Sister Zijuan, you were so fierce just now. Are you scared of Anti-Mouse Monster and cheese? Is that so? Su Zijuan said indifferently, It's good that it didn't come. You should stop thinking about it and face the reality. It's better for everyone to have a short period of pain than a long period of pain. Sister Zijuan, what's going on? Why did you get hurt? Su Zijuan suddenly sneered. It's just a stupid thing done by a few idiots. If it wasn't for the fact that my injuries haven't healed yet, those guys wouldn't have been able to touch me. Sister Zijuan? Su Zijuan suddenly said, do you know why Long Shirua stayed here? Why is there another Elysium bar besides this one? And why are there more monsters in this city? Luo Dance thought for a while and said, I heard from Grandpa Tree Monster that this area has been rich in aura since ancient times. Is it because of this? Aura, this is the basis of monsters' survival. Su Zijuan nodded. Most of the monsters can live without eating for a long time, but they can't live without aura. Now, more and more places have been developed by humans, leaving less and less places for monsters to live. But the aura in this city has been very rich since ancient times. Even though there are many high-rise buildings, it's still much better than some deep mountains and forests. Do you know why? Luo Dance shook her head. Su Zijuan said seriously, that's because there's a huge aura that has existed since ancient times in the deep underground of this place. As the old saying goes, the spirit of the earth is the spirit of the earth and the spirit of the earth. This place is rich in aura, so it's naturally more suitable for living and monsters to live. Luo Dance suddenly said, wow, it turns out that there's an aura here. No wonder I can see so many monsters and some formed souls. And the small animals here are so smart. This aura is one of the few aura veins that is still in its prime. Su Zijuan said indifferently, most of the aura veins in Kelowna are in the period of exhaustion. Long Shirua is the last Shinryu. She found this place with great difficulty, so naturally she has to guard this aura well and not let some hot-headed guys have any ideas about it. Su Zijuan shook her head, but the news that she left recently probably spread. Some greedy guys have begun to be narrow-minded. Luo Dance thought for a while. Although it was quite shocking to know that there was a huge aura here, but what does this have to do with Uncle Rat Monster? Su Zijuan frowned. Last night, I didn't find you because a disgusting guy was coming back. I didn't want to stay, so I left first. After I found the long-horned beetle that was waiting for me. She began to talk about her experience. The long-horned beetle was called Bai Shuang. He was an earth monster born and bred in this hill. He had no family and had always lived by himself. He didn't compete with others and hid in the mountains. Occasionally, he would go to the Pure Land of Bliss to drink a few cups of wine and exchange information about the circle of monsters. Day after day, he never thought that he would be held hostage by a powerful monster. For example, the one in front of him, judging from her indifferent aura, was she a real monster? After leaving the Elysium bar, Bai Shuang's drunkenness subsided a lot. After calming down, he naturally knew that he was in a bad situation. Madam, may I ask which hill you are from? Although Bai Shuang said that he would take Su Zijuan to the place where he lived, he didn't dare to walk in front of this big monster. At this time, he could only ask from behind. Although you are small, you talk a lot. Su Zijuan said indifferently. Bai Shuang opened his mouth. That's all I said on the way, okay? Well, this big monster is probably an aggressive character. I heard from Chichi Kamaya that you seem to have made a fortune recently and spend money in the bar every day, right? Su Zijuan suddenly stopped, turned around and squinted at the long-horned beetle monster in front of her. This place was remote, it was the suburb of the city in the hill. Su Zijuan's eyes emitted a strange red light, and there was an evil smile on her face. Bai Shuang swallowed his saliva instinctively, and his legs didn't listen to him. He stepped back step by step. Madam, what do you want to do? What do I want to do? Su Zijuan sneered. I want to ask you, why did you take me here on purpose? Madam, I don't know. You don't know? Su Zijuan's voice became colder and colder. Suddenly, she licked her lips and said, Don't worry, I will make you remember. I rarely drink the blood of long-horned beetles, and I have no interest in an old one like you, but what? Bai Shuang's legs suddenly softened, and his legs didn't listen to him. He immediately knelt on the ground, his body trembling. Suddenly, an ear-piercing sound rang out all around them, as if something was scratching against glass. Su Zijuan looked up and saw a figure standing in the shadow of a tree under the moonlight, and there was even a voice, "Your Highness, why do you make things difficult for a guy who doesn't know anything?" Bai Shuing suddenly summoned his courage and stood up. "Madam Ghost, save me. I brought all the suspicious guys here as you said. Madam Ghost, you have to save me." The figure suddenly jumped down from the tree at an extremely fast speed. The figure flashed past Bai Shuing and finally stopped in front of Su Zijuan. And Bai Shuing's head had already disappeared. It had been twisted off by the figure's owner and held in his hand. "I asked you to bring all the suspicious guys here, but I didn't ask you to bring the most troublesome ones here. Useless guy, you don't even know this one." The one in front of them had a big shiny bald head, eyes like an eagle, and a pair of fiery red eyebrows. He was very tall but also very thin. Madam Ghost threw Bai Shuing's head away and then smiled. "Am I right? Your Highness." "Oh right, now you are the last descendant of the Xianyuan royal family after reincarnation." Chapter 420. The red-browed bald man in front of Su Zijuan. Xiang Lu smiled. "Everything in the world has a slim chance of survival. Princess, you should know better than me, right?" Su Zijuan frowned. She was not in the mood to talk nonsense with the guy in front of her. She said directly, "Xiang Lu, since you are not dead, why don't you find a place to live freely? Why do you come back?" "Of course, I come back to thank Lord Long for his kindness," Xiang Lu said indifferently. "We don't mean to offend you. I wonder if you can turn a blind eye to it and just stand by?" Su Zijuan narrowed her eyes. Xiang Lu smiled. "Princess, you chose to reincarnate as a real spirit. Didn't you want to get rid of the monster world? In that case, why do you want to get involved in this mess? Xiang Lu can make a comeback today, so naturally, he can't be confused with that day. I hope you can think twice." Su Zijuan suddenly laughed coldly. "Long Shira thought that you were the only descendant of Xiang Lu, so he didn't want the monster world to be reduced again, so he destroyed all your cultivation and drove you out. I didn't expect that after 100 years, you still haven't changed. What are you planning to do now that you've returned? According to your tone, you are going to take this matter?" Xiang Lu said calmly. Su Zijuan said indifferently, "I am not interested in the monster world. But I, Su Zijuan, am not someone who anyone can point fingers at in front of me. Xiang Lu, you are not qualified." "That's a pity, Princess." Xiang Lu sneered. "I call you Princess here, which is already polite. Since you don't want to accept my kindness, then don't blame me for offending you." "You? Princess, don't forget that you are not Shinryu now. You are no different from us now that you have become a Ba." Xiang Lu waved his hand, and the strange purple light on his palm began to flash. "Without the power of Shinryu, you can't suppress me." Su Zijuan waved her hands fiercely, showing her red eyes, sharp teeth, and black sharp nails. There were hills nearby, and only small animals in the hills could feel the two different but inexplicably huge monster powers at the same time. But the animals didn't know that the two people who were fighting here had stirred up the taboo of Kelowna. They looked up and saw two vague streamers in the sky, like the night sky, drawing. It was beautiful. A dark red light wrapped around Su Zijuan. She was the main attacker. The attacks were like drumbeats, ceaselessly beating on Xiang Lu's body like huge waves. Under the storm-like attacks, Xiang Lu's face was calm. Even though he was at a disadvantage, he was like a lurking poisonous snake waiting for the best opportunity to strike. Although the princess is no longer a true dragon, her strength seems to have declined compared to 100 years ago. Has she been in the human world for too long that her sharp claws have been worn off? "Lu, do you want to disturb me?" "Redundant. I'd like to see how much patience you have. How long can you stand without fighting back? Whether you have the ability to wait for me to show my flaw." Su Zijuan's speed suddenly increased by 2 times. Xiang Lu's face was still calm, but his eyes seemed to be tightened. Only he knew that he had a feeling of being unable to cope with the sudden doubling of speed. Boom! In a split second, Xiang Lu only felt a sharp pain in his chest. He had taken a heavy punch from Su Zijuan. This punch knocked Xiang Lu down into the forest below, and completely shattered his contempt for him. Looking at the little figure standing proudly under the night sky and the completely disproportionate blood-red monster power, Xiang Lu wiped the blood on the corner of his mouth and stood up. He looked up at Su Zijuan and smiled. "Your Highness is really powerful. I'll ask you one more time. Do you really want to stop me?" "Humph, no one can order me to do what I like. Princess, Xiang Lu can promise that no matter what I plan to do, I won't continue to offend you, as long as you stop. How about that?" "What a joke," Su Zijuan sneered. "Since you're here, do you think I don't know what you're going to do? How many strong ley lines are there in Kelowna? Every loss of one is equal to cutting off the remaining monster's way of life. Although I don't care about the monster world, I won't stand by if you endanger the whole monster world." Xiang Lu suddenly frowned and said seriously, "Princess, I have something to say, but I don't know if it's appropriate." "Don't waste your breath." Su Zijuan's bloody monster power surged. "Long Shiro will miss you guys who are about to go extinct, but I won't. Black clouds cover heaven and earth, golden armor flying dragon." Xiang Lu suddenly shouted, "2nd of February, dragon raises its head." Su Zijuan's hands slowed down and the monster power stopped. She said subconsciously, Why are you?" A golden light suddenly shot out from the forest and hit Su Zijuan's back. It even penetrated her body. After the golden light penetrated Su Zijuan's body, it hovered in the sky and flashed back to the forest. Su Zijuan's eyes turned black and fell from the sky directly. "Ah!" Hearing this, Luo Dance subconsciously let out a low cry and began to undress Su Zijuan. "What are you doing? Sister Zijuan, isn't your body penetrated? You need to be treated." Luo Dance said naturally, "Let me see where the wound is. Is it the chest area?" Su Zijuan subconsciously covered her neckline. Didn't this guy know that it was impolite to take off a girl's bra? "There's no need for that. Aren't I here in one piece?" Su Zijuan shook her head. "The wound has already healed, but there is some strange power left. You can't help me." "I see." Luo Dance nodded. "What happened later?" Su Zijuan buttoned her collar and said indifferently, "I think Xiang Lu must have other companions. When I was distracted, they used some strange weapons to attack me. I didn't see it clearly, but it seems to be very effective against monsters. But it doesn't seem to be the means of the Taoist priest. So powerful." Luo Dance said worriedly, "Sister Zijuan, even you can't defeat him." "I was just careless." Su Zijuan snorted heavily. This time it was unexpected. "If it happens again, I'll be prepared. Don't even think about hurting me." Luo Dance nodded with trust and then asked curiously, "Sister Zijuan, what happened to you after you were knocked down? Didn't Xiang Lu catch up with you?" Su Zijuan sneered, "That guy is so vicious. How could he not catch up with me? But my body was invaded by this strange power and I couldn't move." Su Zijuan glanced at the little butterfly. She noticed that the little butterfly's face had turned paler. She clenched the quilt tightly and gritted her teeth nervously. Su Zijuan sighed and shook her head. "Didn't I come back safe and sound?" "Don't worry, someone saved me in the end." "Who?" Su Zijuan frowned. "I don't know. I just heard a voice like a woman. Then it suddenly became ice and snow. The sudden cold current blocked Xiang Lu and I took the opportunity to leave." "Oh. Who could it be?" Luo Dance thought for a while. A woman's voice. Could it be that Sister Long came back? If that old woman came back, she would have a fight with Xiang Lu. Why would she make such a diversion? "That's right." Luo Dance nodded. "By the way, Sister Zijuan, what did that Xiang Lu say? Did he distract you?" "Nothing, just some disgusting words. Don't worry about it," Su Zijuan said indifferently. "Oh." Luo Dance nodded obediently and then worried. Sister Zijuan, you're injured. What if that Xiang Lu and his companions come to find you? What should we do? Even if I gave him 100 guts, he wouldn't dare leave that hill. Su Zijuan shook her head. I was only injured because of the sneak attack. But he doesn't know my details now, so he won't provoke me easily. Besides, if his purpose is really the underground ley line, he won't leave at this time. Su Zijuan sighed. Long Shirua found this ley line and asked me to help her. We worked together to fix this ley line and set 3 seals around the city. The underground of the hill is one of the seals. He wants to unlock this seal, so he can't stop halfway, or all his efforts will be wasted. He is absolutely reluctant. But what? Su Zijuan frowned. I don't know the details of Xiang Lu. Except for the guy who attacked me, it's hard to say whether he has other companions. It's hard to guarantee that he won't send some of his companions or subordinates to investigate me. It's too dangerous to stay in the hospital without the old woman. They will come to find me sooner or later. I see. Luo Dance suddenly smiled. So Sister Zijuan, you drove Aunt Mouse Monster away just now because you are afraid that Uncle Mouse Monster's matter is related to Xiang Lu's matter, so you are afraid that Aunt Mouse Monster will be in greater danger. You think too much. I just don't like crying in front of me. What does it have to do with me whether other monsters are dangerous or not? Su Zijuan snorted. Well, Sister Zijuan, if you say it has nothing to do with you, then it has nothing to do with you. Seeing Su Zijuan stare at her, Luo Dance stuck out her tongue and quickly changed the topic. But, since we can't stay here, where should we go? How about we go to the Elysium world, Sister Zijuan? I think that Mr. Ghostchild seems to be familiar with you. I won't go there even if you kill me. Su Zijuan snorted. Let me go there, I'd rather fight with Xiang Lu again. But you are injured now, aren't you? Luo Dance touched Su Zijuan's head and said, Sister Zijuan, don't be stubborn. Grandpa Tree Monster used to tell me that face is not important, but life is the most important. Go by yourself if you want. I can stay anywhere else. Su Zijuan snorted, and don't touch my head. Luo Dance tilted her head embarrassedly and thought of an idea. We can go to the boss. Let him protect you temporarily. Boss? What boss? Su Zijuan frowned. Although Xiang Lu is not a big monster, he is not less dangerous than a big monster. Not everyone can deal with him. But the boss is really powerful. Luo Dance stretched out her fingers and pinched her thumb and forefinger slightly, but it seems that he has to pay some price. Su Zijuan frowned. Butterfly Monster nodded. Because if you want the boss's help, you have to give him something. This is the rule there. Everything is a transaction. Then let's go. Su Zijuan felt familiar, but she didn't think too much about it. Since it's a transaction, let's go. Su Zijuan, never owe anyone anything. And as I said, don't touch my head. But Su Zijuan didn't expect that Luo Dance would take her to this place. The place in front of her. It was just like a shop on a busy street. The only difference was that it looked a little old. But for Su Zijuan, it gave her a completely different feeling. Chapter 421. In the evening, Luoqiu cooked dinner as usual and sat in the living room watching TV. Subeditor Rin opened the door like a defeated dog as usual, and came back from work. I'm back, dragging her voice. Rin Xiling walked all the way in as if her waist was broken. When she came to the back of the sofa, she lay on the back of the sofa and let her upper body slide down to rest on the sofa. She turned her head and looked at Luoqiu with a haggard face, like a mummy. This almost made Luoqiu feel that this woman was very suitable to practice gymnastics. Isn't this kind of body movement a bit inhuman? I'm back, Ren Xiling muttered again. Oh. Luoqiu nodded casually. That's it. Ren Xiling propped herself up and crossed the back of the sofa. She sat on the sofa and stared at it with her eyes wide open. That's it? That's it. Luoqiu. Boss Luo stated. Ren Xiling was sad and almost shed tears. Ah, I can't feel the warmth of a family. I'm going to run away from home. Luoqiu picked up the phone. Ren Xiling curiously asked, "What are you doing? Aren't you going to run away from home?" Luoqiu said matter-of-factly, "Anyway, I always go to Uncle Ma's house to eat and drink for free. I'll make a call first and ask Aunt to prepare a room for you, so that you won't be in a hurry later." Ren Xiling suddenly held her heart in despair, pursed her mouth, and fell on the sofa as if she had nothing to live for. "You have caused 10,000 points of critical damage to me. I am going to die. Next year on Tomb Sweeping Day, you can burn more incense." Luoqiu drank a mouthful of water. "Remember to wash the dishes after eating before you die." Ren Xiling opened her eyes and asked weakly, "What did you do?" "Small wontons." "Ah, this is good." Ren Xiling giggled as if she had regained her energy. She got up from the sofa and rushed to the dining table like an auntie who was in a rush to buy a special sale at the supermarket. "I'm starving." He hadn't eaten anything the entire day. This damned pair. She asked for leave today, and she even asked for leave for several days. "I'm in a mess now." Luoqiu suddenly stood up. "I'm going out to buy something." Ren Xiling was stunned, but Luoqiu didn't say anything. He simply changed his shoes and opened the door. "Why are you going out so late? What should I buy? Do I still have to wait for you?" Ren Xiling held the bowl and walked to the door. Hearing the sound of the door closing, she couldn't help but mutter, "So mysterious. This tastes good." Shoo shoo, it was the sound of soup. It was not the first time for Luo Dance to see the boss in plain clothes. When his figure appeared in the club's lobby, the little butterfly monster suddenly had an illusion that he was like an ordinary person. It was quiet, but without the mysterious and weird feeling of the boss. But Luo Dance soon thought that it must be her illusion. Because when she met the boss's eyes, she could clearly feel that unreal feeling from the boss's body. This was an individual from another world. So far, so far. Seeing the boss appear, the servant girl who was serving tea quickly put down the tray in her hand and nodded slightly to Luoqiu. "Master, Miss Dance brought a guest. This is Miss Suzy Juan." Luoqiu looked at Suzy Juan, who was sitting aside. She looked like a young girl, about 15 or 16 years old. She was wearing a red and black dress. As for her skin, it was abnormal. It was the kind of white that couldn't feel the sun for a long time. At this time, seeing Luoqiu coming, Luo Dance quickly stood up and apologized. I'm sorry to disturb you again, boss." Luoqiu smiled casually, reaching out to touch his chin, and smiled. "Does your mouth still hurt?" "Ah." Luo Dance's face suddenly turned red, reaching out to cover her mouth, murmuring, it doesn't hurt. Seeing this, Suzy Juan suddenly frowned at this time, and said indifferently, "Little guy, sit down. We are customers, so we don't need to apologize to others. Since this is a place for business, naturally they should serve us." Luo Dance moved her lips. She didn't know how to continue Sister Zijuan's words. "Take a seat." Luoqiu smiled. This lady is right. We should be the ones to entertain them. Luoqiu sat down. "Is there anything wrong with our service, Miss Suzy Juan?" Suzy Juan narrowed her eyes, looking down suddenly, and said indifferently, "Are these teas also served to customers? What are they?" The maid who was in charge of making the tea was calm, as if she didn't hear it, quietly standing beside Boss Luo. Since her master was not angry, she naturally was not angry. "Well," Luoqiu nodded, and asked indifferently, "What kind of tea can make you like it?" "Blood." Suzy Juan narrowed her eyes, and a dark red color flashed through her eyes. She sneered. "Especially the blood of a full-term baby girl born on the 14th day of the lunar calendar. You have the best blood here." She opened her eyes a little, looking straight at Luoqiu's eyes, and said proudly, "Do you have it?" At this time, Luo Dance stretched out her hand and quietly pulled Suzy Juan's clothes under the table. But this half-hamba girl seemed to feel nothing and still sneered. "What? You don't have it? Miss Zijuan, the 14th day of the lunar calendar has passed for some time. Luoqiu didn't nod or shake his head. Now, it's not the season. Su Zijuan said indifferently, Oh? Is it? It's said that everything is available here, but it's just a trick. Luoqiu said indifferently, The blood that Miss Zijuan mentioned is no longer in the consumables served to customers. But if Miss Zijuan insists on drinking it, you can buy it. I also recommend you to buy it. How much is it? Su Zijuan narrowed her eyes. I don't know the price. You name a price that I can pay now. Luoqiu glanced at Luo Dance, who was a little embarrassed, and shook his head slightly. Then he looked at Su Zijuan in front of him. Su Zijuan furrowed her brows. She felt as if something was touching her body, making her feel uncomfortable. At this time, Luoqiu said slowly, Miss Zijuan, please cut off a strand of hair as the transaction fee for this special drink. Hair? A strand of hair? Luo Dance opened her eyes wide. It seemed that this was the first time she knew that hair could be used to trade. The little butterfly's bright eyes suddenly looked at Boss Luo. Boss Luo chuckled, Your hair can't buy back your white jade plate. Okay. Luo Dance lowered her head in disappointment. Wait a moment, this little trick of his was seen through in an instant. Hair? It seemed that she didn't expect such an answer. Su Zijuan frowned deeper. Why hair? 3,000 strands of worry, a strand of worry. Hair naturally has its own value, Luoqiu said indifferently. Miss Zijuan's hair is a treasure of someone's life. But it's too precious, so just a strand is enough. Su Zijuan suddenly stood up. Barefoot, she floated up slightly. Her straight and scattered hair was slightly fluttering. The dark red demon aura flowed on her body like mercury. However, her eyes turned even redder. How dare you? Facing the raging Su Zijuan, Luoqiu waved his hand to make the servant girl quiet down. Then he said slowly, Miss Zijuan, can you not scare her? Luoqiu looked at Luo Dance. Su Zijuan also looked at Luo Dance subconsciously. Luo Dance's pale face became even paler. Her lips trembled slightly. It seemed that she wanted to say something. She looked painful, but she still gritted her teeth and held on. She was overwhelmed by the great demon aura of Su Zijuan. Su Zijuan took a deep breath. Her hair was scattered and vertical again. She landed on the ground barefoot. In the blink of an eye, she returned to her delicate appearance like a porcelain doll. She said indifferently, I won't drink this blood. It's too troublesome. Miss Zijuan, what else do you want? Luoqiu asked. Su Zijuan looked at Luoqiu and said, I heard that money is not used to trade here. Anything else is accepted, right? Indeed. Su Zijuan nodded and suddenly said, Dance, I have something to talk with the boss alone. You find a place to stay first. Well? Luo Dance was stunned. But seeing Su Zijuan's determined expression, she nodded. Yu Yi smiled and said, Miss Dance, can you accompany me to the kitchen? I'll get you something to eat. Finally, only the new boss of the club and this mysterious girl were left. Chapter 422. The kitchen of the club was much larger than she felt. To be exact, the interior space of the club was much larger than that of the shop on the other side of the street. Luo Dance sat on the high stool in front of the combination cabinet table in the center of the kitchen. She put her hands on the table and blinked her eyes at the club maid who was fiddling with the things inside like a magic trick. Miss Servant Girl, who was beating eggs with an egg beater, didn't care about it at all. At this time, Yu Yi suddenly smiled. Miss Dance, are you worried about your friend? Luo Dance opened her eyes and looked at this big sister's smile. She felt a little gentle, so she nodded and apologized. I'm sorry, Sister Zijuan is actually not a bad person. She just doesn't mean what she says. Yu Yi put down the egg beater and suddenly asked, Miss Dance, we will never hurt the customers. Really? Luo Dance asked subconsciously. Yu Yi nodded gently. Of course, as long as the customers are not really malicious. The little butterfly seemed to have untied the knot in her heart. She nodded and smiled. Sister Zijuan is really not a bad person at all. Do you like her very much? Yu Yi asked softly. Luo Dance nodded and then counted with her fingers. Yes. Not only Sister Zijuan, but also Sister Long, the uncle and aunt of the bun shop, the uncle and aunt of the pet hospital, and Anne. The little butterfly suddenly glanced at Miss Servant Girl on the opposite side of the cabinet table, then lowered her head and said, "And Sister Yu Yi and the boss, I like them all." Yu Yi chuckled. "It seems that you like all the people you meet." "Not really." Luo Dance shook her head. Yu Yi suddenly waved her hand and called the little butterfly to come to her. After getting close to this incredible Sister Yu Yi, Luo Dance saw clearly that the skin of this Miss Servant Girl was like a flawless jade. She couldn't help looking at it more. At this time, Luo Dance suddenly felt something sweet in her mouth. It was very, very sweet. The club's servant girl had already put her finger into the mouth of the dazed butterfly monster. Yu Yi asked softly, "Is this sweetness okay?" It turned out that the servant girl had used her finger to gently draw a line on the egg. Her finger hooked up some white sticky substance and sent it into the butterfly monster's mouth. "Yes." Luo Dance nodded with a red face. Yu Yi smiled. "That's good." After a long time, it felt like a long time had passed. However, the pendulum clock in the corner had only turned 30 degrees. 5 minutes. Su Zijuan had a feeling that she would lose in terms of patience, even though only 5 minutes had passed. Thus, she said, "This place is indeed not a good place. Even the air seems to have a magical power, infinitely magnifying the desires in people's hearts." "Miss Zijuan, aren't you fine now?" Luoqiu smiled. Su Zijuan shook her head, seeming to not want to continue this topic. After Luo Dance's temporary absence, she seemed to have no constraints. "There have been legends about you all over the world, but no one knows when you started to appear. Your origins, your purpose, and your attitude are all mysteries." "What do you want to say, Miss Zijuan?" Luoqiu asked. "Since everything is a mystery," Su Zijuan said seriously, "then why do you make me believe that you can satisfy me? The wealth in the world is nothing to me. As long as I don't want to die, I can live until the end of time. With my ability, there is almost nothing that I can't get. How can you guarantee that you can give me something that I can't get?" Luoqiu thought for a while and said slowly, "I'm sorry, Miss Zijuan, we don't have a trial rule here. All transactions are instant. You buy, we sell, that's all. But no matter what you want, as long as you can afford it, we can give it to you. So, no need to test or argue with each other. We always stand on the side of the customer." "Tut!" Su Zijuan suddenly smacked her lips and sneered. "You are really a stubborn guy. Well, let's get to the point." Su Zijuan took a deep breath. "I want all my injuries to be healed, no matter new or old. In addition, I also need the information about Xiang Lu, the more detailed the better. Since you are so mysterious, don't tell me that you have no way to know who Xiang Lu is and need me to provide it." "Customer, what are you going to use to pay?" "Pay?" Su Zijuan smiled. She suddenly stood up from the chair and walked barefoot on the wooden floor, stopping in front of Luoqiu. This strange Hanba girl slowly lifted her skirt and smiled. First, she stepped out her left leg and put it on Luoqiu's thigh. His skin, which was so pale that it was almost devoid of blood, was already exposed to the air. She slowly sat on Luoqiu's thigh. Miss Hanba held the club boss face with her hands and slowly approached, exhaling gently. When her lips were close to Boss Luo's ear, she whispered, "Can you use me to pay?" Her lips slowly moved down Luoqiu's ear, as if she wanted to kiss Luoqiu's neck. Her soft body was cold but not cold. The Hanba girl in his arms brought a fresh feeling to Boss Luo. When Su Zijuan slightly opened her mouth, she heard such words. "Well, Miss Zijuan is the last descendant of the Eastern Xianyuan royal family in this life, but her true spirit is more powerful. Your virgin blood is indeed a precious treasure. But compared to what you want, I'm afraid it's not enough. After all, Miss Zijuan's injuries contain other things, right? But considering that healing injuries and information can be separated, Miss Zijuan, do you want to consider only one of them? Of course, I suggest you to heal your injuries. Su Zijuan's body suddenly seemed to be stiff. Boss Luo said indifferently, in addition, you'd better not try to drink my blood. It will hurt your customer. You actually said that my virginity is not valuable enough. I'm so sad. Give me a little compensation? Su Zijuan narrowed her eyes and said with a cold tone. Suddenly, she opened her mouth and bit down. Her sharp canine-like fangs pierced into Luochio's neck, and Luochio slowly closed his eyes. Time paused for a moment, and the world seemed to turn into black and white. Su Zijuan's body was covered by something and pulled away fiercely. She couldn't dodge, she couldn't even struggle. Her body was already suspended in midair. Her hands, legs, and even her neck were wrapped by a black chain. There was no end to these chains, because each of them seemed to be born from nothing, coming from the air. Her face was full of horror. At this moment, she crazily let the blood-red demon aura in her body surge, trying to break free from the shackles of these chains. However, Su Zijuan did not expect that no matter how ferocious the demonic qi was, it was absorbed by the black chain like a clay ox entering the sea. It did not cause any ripples. Luochio opened his eyes and looked sideways at his neck. Then, he bent down and picked up a sharp tooth from the ground. Su Zijuan also lost a sharp tooth. She didn't get a single drop of blood from the club's boss. Instead, she lost a tooth. Luochio took out a handkerchief and wiped the tooth clean, then slowly put it on the table. He looked at Su Zijuan, waved his hand to let the chains go away, and then said softly, Miss Zijuan, your test, is it enough? She stood barefoot on the ground and felt the coldness of the wooden floor. She slowly reached out her hand to wipe the blood that flowed out from her mouth because of a tooth that had fallen off. She slowly said, I have a tomb. There are 30,000 deep-sea demons buried in it. Is that enough? What about the location? Luochio closed his eyes. Soon after, he opened them again and said indifferently, 20,000 is enough to heal Miss Zijuan's wound. 1,500 is enough to buy the information Miss Zijuan wants. Deal. Although it was a deal, Su Zijuan still looked unkind, because of the pain in her teeth. It was so painful, yen 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 PS1. Is there anyone who misses the familiar dividing line? PS2. Happy New Year to everyone. In the new year, I hope you can find a bite partner. PS3. Don't ask me what I mean. For someone like me who is prosperous, democratic, civilized, harmonious, free, equal, fair, rule of law, patriotic, professional, honest, friendly, how would a conscientious player like me who was still writing in the last 10 minutes of 2016 know anything? Chapter 423. The room was about 12 square meters. It wasn't shabby, but it wasn't comfortable either. If one had to describe it, it should be said that it was livable. There was a huge shelf in the middle of the room, which was used as a partition. The shelf was filled with all kinds of records and CDs. This was almost all of Qing Yiran's property. He even regarded it as wealth. His many years of collection were all stored here. The sun had already set, and the lights in the city were lit up. A feeling of hunger woke Qing Yiran up from his sleep. After returning from the nightclub last night, he bought a dozen beers from the convenience store downstairs. One person drank, while the other person kept plucking the strings of the magical electric guitar. He didn't know when he fell asleep. When Qing Yiran opened his eyes, his head was heavy, his stomach was uncomfortable, and his mouth was dry. He didn't get up immediately, but subconsciously rubbed his forehead, and then looked at the lights outside through the curtain. Countless times, he looked at the neon lights outside like this. Qing Yiran realized that he hadn't seen the sun at 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning for a long time. He didn't know when he started to perform in various nightclubs, but his days and nights became the same as other people's days and nights. Ching Yiran put his hand down and easily reached the guitar piled on his body. He often fell asleep with the guitar on his body. His fingers casually plucked a few times, and Ching Yiran suddenly sat up. He opened his eyes wide, looking at the guitar in his hand, and even rubbed his eyes hard. I am not dreaming. The moment his fingers touched the strings, the feeling of conquering everyone almost spread to his whole body. Ha 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 ha! Wild, endless wild began to emerge in his heart, like a burning fire. Ching Yiran laughed alone. Ching Yiran subconsciously picked up the phone. The first name in the phone book was Hong Guan's name. He hesitated. He thought of the boss who sold fish eggs and the bag in front of the snack stall, the best. 13 missed calls and 7 messages. In the end, Ching Yiran didn't call this number, but she saw that many people seemed to be looking for her. Among them, 2 were Hong Guan, 6 were Manager Dai, and the rest were all unknown numbers. Hong Guan left a message asking where he was and what was going on. Manager Dai also left a message asking him what he thought. Ching Yiran read all the way down, and a smile appeared on her face subconsciously. The last message was, "Hello, Mr. Ching Yiran, I am from the Supervision Department of Feiyun Entertainment Company, Limited. I was also at the nightclub last night and saw your performance. Our company is very interested in you. If it is convenient, please call back." Feiyun Entertainment? Ching Yiran was stunned. He didn't seem to have any impression of this Feiyun Entertainment. However, he had never been in contact with a similar record company or entertainment company. He couldn't help but be curious, so he quickly called. "Hello, may I ask who you are?" "I am Ching Yiran." Ching Yiran took a deep breath, but tried to make her voice sound calm. "I saw your message. How do you know my phone number?" "Mr. Ching Yiran, you finally replied to me." The person on the other side of the phone said happily, "Mr. Ching, I have been waiting for your call for a day. I asked the people in the nightclub for your phone number. By the way, I haven't introduced myself. My name is Li Zifeng." "Mr. Li, hello," Ching Yiran said casually. "Is there anything you want to talk to me about?" "Well, I don't know if Mr. Ching is interested in further development in the entertainment industry?" Li Zifeng smiled and said, "Our company is currently preparing several projects, specifically to unearth some promising newcomers." "Feiyun Entertainment? I don't think I've heard of it," Ching Yiran said suddenly. Li Zifeng said, "Of course, because the company has just been re-established, Mr. Ching must have not heard of it. But you must have heard of the predecessor of our company. Heaven's Shadow Entertainment Company, Mr. Ching, have you heard of it?" "Heaven's Shadow Entertainment Company?" Ching Yiran gave a start, saying surprisingly, "Is it the company that once made the previous queen, Tu Jia, famous?" "Exactly," Li Zifeng said. "Our company fell into a slump because of some things, the former boss even. But don't worry, Mr. Ching, that's all in the past. Now the reorganized Feiyun Entertainment Company has a huge financial backer that you can't imagine. Our company's strength can't be estimated in the whole world, but in the whole country, it's absolutely first class. This is a very good opportunity. I think Mr. Ching won't give it up, right?" Feiyun Entertainment Company. Ching Yiran's heart beat wildly, but he still tried to calm himself down. But at some point, his palms began to sweat. "I think we can meet." Ching Yiran took a deep breath and said. His luck had changed. In the club, it seemed to last forever. In front of Su Zijuan, an ancient sheepskin scroll unfolded slowly. She needed to press her palm on it to establish the deal with the club. Her eyesight was naturally not comparable to ordinary monsters. But even so, she still couldn't figure out how the sheepskin scroll appeared. Here, there was a kind of mysterious power flowing all the time, bypassing all her senses, even isolating all her senses to the outside world. Through the observation of this sheepskin scroll, Su Zijuan got a shocking conclusion. This small shop had its own system, as if it was completely independent of the present world. but at the same time, it was inextricably linked with the present world, which was hard to touch. Customer, the contract will take effect after you press your palm on it. Luocha looked at Suzy Juan calmly and said. After thinking for a few seconds, Suzy Juan nodded. Her fingers slowly approached the sheepskin scroll. As she got closer, she could feel a binding force beginning to form around her. Not only her body, this force seemed to be able to bind her spirit and even her soul, and something deeper in her soul. At the moment when her fingers were about to touch the sheepskin scroll, Suzy Juan suddenly raised her head and looked at Luocha in front of her. You, what are you? Luocha seemed to be thinking about this question carefully. I am also looking for the answer. Suzy Juan finally pressed the bill on the sheepskin scroll. She didn't feel any discomfort on her body, but she felt as if there was a mark deep in her body. A mark was made. That's it? Not long after, Suzy Juan frowned. She subconsciously looked at her hands and squinted at Luocha. Why are my injuries still there? Miss Zijuan, your injuries are too serious. Luocha calmly said. The soul tomb you mentioned before, even if all the souls were added together, it wouldn't be able to heal your injuries immediately. Suzy Juan narrowed her eyes and said coldly, in other words, you are deceiving me, right? No. Luocha shook his head and said, it will only slow down your recovery. As he spoke, Luocha took a tall glass from the club's bar and put it in front of Suzy Juan. From the bottom of the glass, some strange liquid began to emerge. It was dark red, but there were a lot of golden light spots in it, like tiny grains of golden sand. The thick dark red liquid mixed with the golden sand began to appear from the bottom of the glass, then it slowly began to rise, until the liquid occupied about a quarter of the glass, then it stopped. Suzy Juan's nose twitched, and she said in surprise, this is blood. But she couldn't smell the blood, only her body's instinct told her that it was indeed blood. And it was blood that gave her an irrepressible impulse. Of course. Luocha smiled and pushed the glass to Suzy Juan. Drink it. Miss Zijuan's injuries should be able to fully recover in 2 days, internal and external injuries. Suzy Juan didn't immediately take action, but said in a low voice, whose blood is this? Chapter 424. Someone was standing sneakily in front of the pet hospital, behind a lamppost on the street. He was wearing black sunglasses, a huge yellow waterproof windbreaker and a fisherman's hat. Yes, he was also holding a newspaper to cover his face. Brother Shaoxing felt that his disguise was absolutely first class. Mom, there is a weirdo there. Shoo, don't talk nonsense, let's go, Brother Shaoxing. Brother Shaoxing raised a finger to greet the mother and son who were pulling their son away. Ha, what do you know? Brother Shaoxing gritted his teeth. He would not be so easily defeated by the words of these human beings, okay? He was Son Shaoxing, the great monster beast, okay? Brother Shaoxing raised his eyes and continued to look at the pet center in front of him. He frowned. Ha, there is no reason. Since Zijuan is back, shouldn't she stay here? Brother Shaoxing could not feel Suzy Juan's monster aura from this pet center. Not to mention Suzy Juan, even Long Shirua's monster aura was not there. Although there were countless ways to hide the monster aura at the level of a great monster, Brother Shaoxing thought that it would be strange if he could not even smell a trace of monster aura at this distance. There was a piece of red paper at the door of the pet hospital. The owner is pregnant, rest for a few days. Brother Shaoxing's eyes began to turn a few times, and he muttered, Is Zijuan afraid that I will come here to find her, so she ran away and hid from me? She is so shy, really. Brother Shaoxing looked at the sky with a smile. Mom, there is a weird uncle there, so disgusting. Shoo, don't talk nonsense, let's go. Oh, Mom, my butt seems to have been poked by something. Under the lamppost, the figure wearing a yellow waterproof windbreaker, holding a newspaper, and wearing a pair of sunglasses was no longer there. The child covered his butt and muttered to his mother. For a big demon like Brother Shaoxing, who had no shame in taking off his pants in the Elysium bar, He naturally wouldn't retreat because of a few words from a child. He just felt that there was a trace of gloomy and cold demon aura nearby, so he curiously went to take a look, that's all. In a small alley not far from the pet center, there were two different demonic auras coming from the narrow gap between two buildings. The owner of the weak demonic aura was sitting on the ground, leaning against the wall, his face full of fear. Some of the characteristics of a monster had already begun to appear on his body. It had a dog's nose and ears, so it should be a canine-type demon. My lord. You are from that mountain. I don't think I have offended you. The dog demon trembled and didn't dare to look at the guy in front of him. His entire body emitted a demonic aura that terrified him. This was a type of demonic aura that carried the aura of death. I won't kill you, but tell me, where did the people in the hospital go? The figure asked indifferently. I don't know. The dog demon said in fear. My waist is not feeling well today, so I came to look for Lord Long to take a look. I didn't know it was closed these few days. You don't want to tell the truth. That voice suddenly sneered. The dog demon suddenly lay on the ground, his hands buried Zijuan's head, and said in fear, my lord, I'm just a little monster, I can't talk to Lord Long. Where did she go? I really don't know. I'm not asking about Long Shiro, but the other one. The other one? The dog demon was stunned and said subconsciously, is it the new little butterfly demon in the hospital? We're not familiar with each other. We just met a few times. Not this one? Is it the other one? I'm talking about her. The dog demon swallowed his saliva and said, my lord, I'm even less familiar with the one you're talking about. I only know that she's called Zijuan. She doesn't usually show up. I don't know anything else. Humph, you're really a wretch. That voice was colder. It seems that you won't shed tears until you see the coffin. With that, the owner of the voice, who was wearing a black windbreaker and a hat, suddenly stretched out 5 fingers, and a faint purple light began to twine between his fingers. My lord. The dog demon was terrified. Don't mess around. Lord Long has a rule that demons are not allowed to kill each other under her eyes. Long Shirua? The man snorted coldly, his fingers opened, and was about to cover the dog demon's head, but he didn't succeed in the end. Because before that, his arm was grabbed by someone. It was firmly grasped. Ha, buddy, it's not fun to bully these little guys, right? The newcomer lowered his head, and stretched out his hand to cover the brown fisherman's hat on his head. The yellow coat on his body was still swaying. Apparently, he came in a hurry, and the wind was still flowing here. It's Brother Shaosheng. Meddlesome. The figure in black snorted coldly, and the purple light in his hand suddenly burst out. Only a hissing sound was heard. Brother Shaosheng frowned and snorted softly. When he released his palm, an invisible distance broke out between him and the figure in black at the same time, and at the same time, both of them were pushed away. Brother Shaosheng's sunglasses and hat were blown off, and the other person's hat was also blown off, revealing their true faces. Brother Shaosheng, who took a step back, was stunned and subconsciously said, bald. Purple eyebrows? The figure in black who took a step back narrowed his eyes and said indifferently, I heard that there is a strange guy here in the past 50 years. I think it's you. Son Shaosheng. Ha, have you heard of my name? Brother Shaosheng blinked a few times. Since you know it's me, why don't you back down? I've heard of you, but you're just an ordinary stone monkey who got some opportunities. How dare you call yourself a saint? Ha, buddy. I didn't see how capable you are, but you're good at talking. I like it. Brother Shaosheng laughed strangely. Come on, if you want to fight, I have 100 ways to make you kneel on the keyboard. Don't you know that I have a name called Keyboard Warrior on the major forums? Ridiculous. The dignity of the demon race is thrown away by a guy like you. He snorted coldly. As a great demon, you don't know how to restore the glory of the demon race. You only know how to mix in the human world and open a broken bar. You're like a waste all day long. Ha, retard. Brother Xiaoxing laughed strangely again, picked up the hat on the ground, and put it on again. Ha, I don't know where you came from, but from what you said just now, it seems that you are looking for trouble with the woman I like. Brother Xiaoxing patted his collar and smiled. Ha, I'm very easygoing. Those who know me know that. But ha, there are some small problems occasionally, that is. His face turned serious, monkey face, Azura face. If I don't like it, I will definitely beat it. Brother Xiaoxing didn't do anything, but after his figure flashed, the demon dog lying on the ground holding his head heard a deep sound, and even a vibration from the ground. He opened his eyes and saw Brother Xiaoxing's arm hanging straight down, and the man in black had been punched in the chest by Brother Xiaoxing, leaving dozens of cracks on the concrete floor. He was not the Monkey King in the ancient legends, but Sun Xiaoxing, but he was also a king. Su Zijuan suddenly shuddered, and stopped with a strange look. Just coming out of the club, it was like returning from one world to another. Su Zijuan frowned at this time, looking at a certain direction of the city thoughtfully. Luo Dance, who accompanied her out, felt strange. Sister Zijuan, did you forget something in the boss's place? Su Zijuan was stunned. Why do you think I forgot something? Luo Dance blinked her eyes. Because I forgot something. Look. Luo Dance raised the backpack in her hand. The little butterfly monster remembered to say thank you when she left in a hurry last time, but forgot to carry a small backpack. I didn't forget anything, Su Zijuan said indifferently. I just had a sudden feeling of nausea. Forget it, it will only make me feel more nauseous. Let's go, before dawn, we have to get to the second seal. Chapter 425. In the night sky, there seemed to be a vague whirlpool. It was not a wandering cloud, but something else, something more abstract. Yu Yi looked up at the night sky. She returned to the club after wiping the last part of the club's display window. Just like usual, Miss Maid found that her master was looking at a map at this time. The map floated in the air and opened in front of Luocio. It was the map of the city. Finished wiping things. Feeling that Miss Maid came in, Luocio did not look back, still looking at the map. Come and have a look. I have never looked at the map of the city seriously. Miss Maid walked to Luocio's side and began to look carefully, at the same time asking softly, Master, are you thinking about the underground ley line? Luocio nodded and said, Miss Su Zijuan, who just left, came for this. He took Yu Ye's hand and came to the other side of the map. At the same time, he stretched out his hand in front of the map. The buildings marked on the map gradually disappeared on the map, and finally, only the most primitive landform of the city remained. And something more difficult to measure deep underground. The map in front of them even began to change into a three-dimensional pattern, not only the surface of the city, but also the distribution of the underground structure of the city. Yu Yi looked at this three-dimensional distribution map, and at this time, it began to show 3 different light spots. Master, these 3 are the locations of the underground ley line seal? Luocio nodded again, then stretched out his hand and roughly drew a line on the three-dimensional map with his finger. The curved line was like a tadpole and finally lit up. Luocio said, This is the shape of the underground ley line. What do you think? Miss Maid frowned slightly. It's like Rupert's tear. At the beginning, only the shape reminded me of it. Luocio paused. Now after peeling it, I'm afraid it has the same characteristics as Rupert's tear. Yu Yi thought for a while, stretched out her hand and pointed at the 3 different light spots, the seals of the ley line one by one. This is the seal that Xiang Lu intends to erode, this is the seal that Miss Su Zijuan intends to go to, and this, finally, Yu Ye's finger came to the position of the 3rd seal, which seemed to be the end of the ley line. Unexpectedly, there is also a seal here. Miss Maid shook her head. This is not a layer of insurance but a time bomb. Luocio sighed. If the 3rd seal is not opened in the normal way, it will cause great pressure. According to the characteristics of Rupert's tear, the ley line will completely explode in an instant. and this city will suffer an unprecedented earthquake. Yu Yi narrowed her eyes slightly. Well, Luoqiu thought for a while, Long Shirua didn't do it on purpose. From her behavior and Taiyinzi's description, she has no reason to do so. Then, there is probably only one reason that can be guessed. Miss Maid, who was always smart, suddenly showed a helpless look, whispering, "This Miss Long probably doesn't like physics." Luoqiu was silent. He remembered that Long Shirua seemed to be a pet doctor? Every once in a while, she needed to float up a little and try to get as close to the ground as possible to let her body rest. Long Shirua felt that even with her special physique, it was a hard job to pay attention to the flow of the ley line all the time. At this moment, she was just resting, and below her was a piece of red lava. Suddenly, Long Shirua's nose felt a little itchy. Maybe it was because of the pungent smell of sulfur here? She didn't manage to sneeze. She rubbed her nose and said, "I've been out for a while now. Could it be that something happened?" But Long Shirua quickly shook her head. Compared to this small abnormality, she was more concerned about the cause of the ley line's movement. Besides, although she left, Su Zijuan was still in the pet center, a monster she could trust. It should be fine. Long Shirua took a deep breath and dived into the lava below again. "It's so hot, take off your clothes." The dog demon didn't know the origin of the black-clothed guy that made him so scared, but he was very clear about the guy in front of him who directly smashed the black-clothed guy to the ground, smashing a hole in the ground, and had a ferocious monkey face. He hadn't been in human form for a long time, but he had heard of the owner of the Elysium Bar from the older generation more than once. The older generation said that Sun Xiaoxing's fame was not because of the Elysium Bar, but because of his fist. Long before the opening of the Elysium Bar, he had used his fists to strike a huge thunderbolt in the world of monsters. Legend had it that Brother Xiaoxing even challenged the Supreme Lord Long in the monster world, but no one knew the result. But he was still here at this time. So, even if he was defeated, he still had a valiant record of fighting Lord Long alone and not dying. He was still alive now. Also, the Elysium Bar was so expensive. Is that all you can do? Brother Xiaoxing's fist still did not leave the opponent's chest, but he kept pressing the opponent to the ground. But he soon felt that something was wrong. Although he punched the opponent had no power to fight back, which made Brother Xiaoxing feel a little strange. Brother Xiaoxing frowned, stood up, and found that the guy fell to the ground. There was a huge concave shape on his chest, but he was motionless. "Dead?" Sun Xiaoxing murmured, then he lifted the black-shirted guy with his foot. Suddenly, a sense of danger made Sun Xiaoxing's hair stand on end. He didn't even think about it. His figure flashed, and he lifted the dog monster lying on the ground. He jumped high, grabbed a sewer pipe between the buildings with one hand, and stopped in the wall. The guy lying on the ground suddenly exploded, and a purple mist began to spread. Whether it was the cement floor or the walls, they were instantly corroded and melted after being contaminated by the purple mist. "Not good, this thing is still spreading." Sun Xiaoxing frowned and threw away the dog beastkin in his hand. Then, he took a deep breath and crossed his arms in front of him. There seemed to be countless invisible palms in the air, quickly pushing all the scattered purple mist back to the original place. Sun Xiaoxing's hands began to turn clockwise, and the purple mist was gathered to his side little by little. It gradually condensed, and finally compressed into a purple bead the size of a fist. Sun Xiaoxing looked at it for a while, then he suddenly opened his mouth and swallowed it directly into his stomach. The dog monster's face suddenly turned pale. "Oh no!" Suddenly, Sun Xiaoxing grabbed his neck with both hands in extreme pain. His body even began to stagger. He made a retching appearance, and his face was covered with black gas. "Master! Master! Master! Are you okay?" The dog monster ran to Sun Xiaoxing in horror, but he saw Sun Xiaoxing directly fell to the ground at this time. He stretched out his hand as if he wanted to grab something. The pain on his face was even more intense. Master, Master, why are you so impulsive? Although you are powerful, you can't swallow such a poisonous thing casually. What should I do? The dog monster was at a loss. He thought to himself, will this master not die if he doesn't seek death? Sun Shaoxing squeezed out some words from his throat. The dog monster said with a bitter face, Master, you saved my life. Tell me, what is your wish? Even if I have to risk my life, I will help you to complete it. Please tell me. He bent down and put his ear close to Sun Shaoxing's mouth, listening carefully. Sun Shaoxing's voice became weaker and weaker. Even with the dog monster's hearing, he still couldn't hear it clearly. He couldn't help but get closer again and cried, Master, tell me, what's wrong with you? Sun Shaoxing suddenly opened his eyes. I'm fine. I lied to you. Ha 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 ha. A thunderous voice rang in the demon dog's ears, causing him to feel as if he was about to go deaf and see stars. At this time, Sun Shaoxing didn't get up. He just lay on the ground and laughed. Ha 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 ha. Master, how could the dog monster not know that he was teased at this time? He kept rubbing his ear that seemed to be deaf. Looking at Sun Shaoxing, who was about to cry from laughing, he sighed silently. Chapter 426. This city was crossed by a river. Every day and night, there were ferries to shuttle people from both sides of the river. When Luo Dance was free, she would take a small ferry from one side to the other. She liked the water vapor of the river. However, she had never thought that at the bottom of this river there was actually an underground spirit vein seal. Su Zijuan took her into the water and pushed open a huge rock on the riverbed. This was the entrance to the second seal. When they came to the destination, they saw a large number of golden words on the stone wall in the depth of the cave. These were like curses. They were almost written all over the deepest part of the cave. The little butterfly had been very obedient. Until they came here, she dared to ask, Sister Zijuan, shouldn't we go to find Xiang Lu? Why did we come here first? Su Zijuan looked around and said indifferently, It will take me 1 or 2 days to recover, so it's not a good time to take the initiative to attack. Xiang Lu has a helper behind him. I guess Xiang Lu will speed up the destruction of the first seal and then find this place directly. But it doesn't matter, as long as the 3 seals are not opened, it won't work. So, let's wait for them here. Luo Dance nodded. Sister Zijuan wants to sneak attack them. Who am I, Su Zijuan? Do I need to sneak attack them? Su Zijuan said fiercely. This is called saving energy and waiting for rabbits. The little butterfly blinked, then blinked again, and nodded fiercely in fear. Su Zijuan did not say anything more and simply sat down cross-legged. Luo Dance suddenly shouted at this time, Wait! What's the matter? Wait! Luo Dance said quickly and began to rummage through her backpack. She took out a folded piece of patterned cloth and spread it on the ground. Then she opened her hands and laughed happily. Thump! It's done. You can sit down now. Do you take these things with you when you go out? Su Zijuan rubbed her forehead. The little butterfly said matter-of-factly, That's right. Auntie taught me to bring more things with me when I go out, just in case. There's also an umbrella, a flashlight, and… One by one, he took out the items in the backpack as if he was showing them off. Finally, Luo Dance took out a small bottle from her backpack. The bottle was filled with red liquid. She held it with both hands and presented it to Su Zijuan. She played with her eyes and said with a smile, And here's your rations, Sister Zijuan. I've already filtered it with a sieve, so it should taste very good. You brought this too? Su Zijuan was stunned. Luo Dance nodded. Yes, I took some with me when I left the pet center. I was afraid that you would be hungry. Do you think this is a picnic? Su Zijuan suddenly said angrily. Don't you have any sense of crisis? Sorry. Luo Dance quickly apologized. Forget it. Put it down. I'll eat it when I'm hungry. Su Zijuan sighed heavily. Then, she suddenly spat out a bead from her mouth, and threw it to Luo Dance's hand. She said indifferently, "Swallow it and see how much you can refine in these 2 days." Luo Dance held the bead and looked at it. It seemed that something was swimming inside, which was quite mysterious. She even felt the extremely pure and huge demon power inside. She couldn't help but be surprised. "Sister Zijuan, what's this?" "Nothing." Su Zijuan sat down with her legs crossed. "Just before we left, I bought a small toy with the shop owner. You're too weak to help at all. Swallow it and increase your demon power." Increase. Luo Dance only felt that the demon power in the bead was dozens of times more than her own. How could this be called increase? "I can't take it." Luo Dance shook her head and gave the bead back. "Sister Zijuan, you have to deal with Xiang Lu and others. Isn't it better for you to increase your demon power? I told you to swallow it, so just swallow it. Why are you talking so much nonsense?" Su Zijun snorted coldly and ordered sternly, "Swallow it." This suddenly scared butterfly monster. She put the bead into her mouth with both hands and covered her mouth. She stared at Su Zijuan and didn't dare to say a word. She couldn't control her throat and swallowed the bead into her stomach. Luo Dance suddenly coughed several times. "Sister Zijuan, this thing is so big and hot, cough cough. You've swallowed it no matter how big it is, haven't you?" Su Zijuan said indifferently. Luo Dance suddenly covered her stomach and showed a painful expression. "Sister Zijuan, what did you make me eat? I feel so hot, so hot." Luo Dance subconsciously began to undress herself and her mind began to blur. So hot, that's right. Su Zijuan narrowed her eyes and walked to Luo Dance. "This is worth 10,000 souls. It's almost the same value as the cup of Cain's blood I bought. You should gain some weight." But Luo Dance, who was in a confused state, couldn't hear what Su Zijuan was saying. The hot thing in her body began to spread in her lower abdomen, bringing unprecedented stimulation to her body. Luo Dance fell to the ground. She had taken off all her clothes and started to curl up her body. Her fingers unconsciously grasped the ground. Her toes tightened and curled up. She clenched her silver teeth and groaned in pain. Wave after wave of heat almost engulfed her consciousness. "Sister Zijuan. It's so hot." Su Zijuan gently lifted Luo Dance's head and said softly, "Just bear with it. It's okay." She lowered her head and kissed Luo Dance's neck. Like sucking, her sharp teeth slowly pierced into Luo Dance's body. Then she controlled the blood in Butterfly Monster's body and began to sort out the violent demon power in her body. The golden spell seal in the cave flashed. Su Zijuan and Luo Dance hugged each other and gradually calmed down. It was extremely beautiful. "Drink it. This is the boss's treat." Ghost Baby placed a large orange-red cup of Elysium drink in front of the dog monster. Dog monster was stunned and subconsciously looked up at the room on the second floor of the bar, the office. He remembered that it used to be a rather stylish floor-to-ceiling glass, but now it was just nailed up with some planks to block it. Dog monster vaguely saw Sun Xiaoxing's back through the gap. Sun Xiaoxing was sitting in a big office chair with his legs on the table. His hands were behind his head. He was probably chatting with someone. "Thank you." Dog monster nodded and took the big cup in Ghost Baby's hand. "Thank you, Master Ghost Baby." Ghost Baby sneered. "He just sneered and didn't mean anything. What's your name?" "Me?" Dog monster was stunned and subconsciously said, "Yaksha, my name is Yaksha. But my friend recently began to call me Erha. Master Ghost Baby can call me Erha." "Okay." Ghost Baby nodded and stepped aside. He silently played with the knife in his hand and looked at the entrance of the bar. He was the gatekeeper here. Upstairs. Chichikamaya frowned. Bald head, purple eyebrows. Purple poisonous gas? Sun Xiaoxing had already said what he encountered once. "Ha, Chichikamaya, I feel like I have heard it somewhere, but I can't remember it at once. You old turtle, do you know?" Boss, is this guy's monster spirit also purple? Chichikamaya asked with a slightly dignified face. It should be? Sun Shaoxing thought for a while. Well, it also has a sense of coldness. Although most of the monster's power is gloomy and cold, this guy's is special, filthy. That's it. Chichikamaya nodded and said seriously, Boss, I think the guy you met is probably Xiang Lu who escaped from Lord Long. Xiang Lu? Chichikamaya nodded. Yes, it's Xiang Lu. He is already the last descendant of Xiang Lu. At the beginning, he killed a large number of monsters to refine an extremely evil thing. He tried to completely open the origin of Xiang Lu and evolve into a real monster. Unfortunately, he met Lord Long. Finally, Lord Long abolished all his monster spirit and expelled him from the land of Kelowna. Xiang Lu broke the rules. Why didn't the old woman kill him? Sun Shaoxing was stunned. He should have been killed. Chichikamaya shook his head and said, But boss, you also know the situation of the monster race. He is the last one of the Xiang Lu family. In addition, during the last great calamity, it was the Shangliu clan who did their best to buy some time. Perhaps it was the great kindness of the demon realm that protected him, so Master Long was merciful to him. It turns out that he is the descendant of a hero. That old woman is not good at all. She is fussy and nostalgic. Sun Shaoxing shook his head. Xiang Lu. It turns out to be him. I remember, I have heard of this guy's name when I was reading the Monster Rampage daily. Yes. Chichikamaya only pretended that he didn't hear the last sentence of Sun Shaoxing. He said with emotion, I didn't expect that he could make a comeback. It seems that he has recovered his strength? I don't know what tricks he is thinking. Boss, I heard that Lord Long went out. I think we should be on guard. Chapter 427. Deep in the hills outside the city, the moon was in the middle of the sky. At this time, there were sounds of insects, wind and footsteps. Xiang Lu's footsteps and the sound of something being dragged. Xiang Lu walked into a secret cave and slowly walked to the depth of the cave. There were also a lot of golden spells here. Of course, they were supposed to be golden, but now they were very dim, as if they would fade away at any time. This was the first seal point. But obviously, there was not only Xiang Lu here, there was another one, a man in a casual suit but looked quite down and out. He looked to be in his 30s. His roots were a little sparse, and his black hair was tied into a bundle and casually pinned behind his head. The man was leaning against a wall. He was holding a slender object wrapped in a large amount of cloth. It looked like a stick or something else. Hearing the footsteps, the man slightly opened his eyes. He was not afraid of Xiang Lu, even though he saw the things in Xiang Lu's hands. Xiang Lu was holding a monster in each of his hands. He looked very weak, but he wasn't dead yet. The man said indifferently, Didn't I tell you that the seal is about to be eroded, so don't wander around? Xiang Lu threw away the monsters in his hands, sitting up with his legs crossed. He tore off one of the monster's arms. Crack! The bones were twisted and blood burst out. Xiang Lu bit the flesh of the arm, chewing and saying, I'm hungry. The man said indifferently, I mean, don't provoke that female monster. I don't want to make any mistakes in this project. Xiang Lu narrowed his eyes. Oh? Didn't Su Zijuan's body get penetrated by you? Why don't you have confidence in yourself? Last time, someone helped her secretly. Su Zijuan escaped, so what's wrong with me chasing her? The man said calmly, as you said, someone helped the princess secretly, but we still don't know who it is. Xiang Lu said carelessly, although that guy helped Su Zijuan escape, he was shot by you in the end, didn't he? Although I don't know where he came from. He didn't have to hide if he was strong enough. Since you shot him in the body, he should have died in that corner. The man said indifferently, It can happen at any time. If I don't see it with my own eyes, I will never judge whether the enemy is really dead or not. Besides, including the demon princess you're talking about, we've met at least 2 enemies, or maybe 3. Xiang Lu, you are injured. Xiang Lu just kept biting the monster's arm without saying a word. He had never fought with Sun Shaoxing. Sun Shaoxing appeared after he was expelled. Then, he didn't want to fight with Sun Shaoxing in the city. However, it was a fact that he had suffered a loss because of this. That monkey of unknown origin seemed to be more difficult to deal with than he had heard. But Xiang Lu had to take revenge, even if it was just a verbal revenge. After he swallowed the whole arm, he looked at the man coldly and said, "Cook, isn't it because your people are late that this matter has been delayed again and again? If you promised to have enough people, why do you have to wait until now and worry about so many things?" The man, Cook said calmly, "I have already said that the order of the club is to temporarily hide and stop all the current actions and projects, so we won't get reinforcements in a short time. Now, if you didn't start the action privately, we could be more careful." Xiang Lu suddenly sneered. "Continue to wait? Are you kidding? I don't know why Long Shiro left, and I don't need to know. But this is definitely the best time. You don't know the horror of Long Shiro. Shinryu of Kelowna will record everything. Don't mess with it," Cook said indifferently. "I won't look down on any enemy, but I will also try to see if my spear can penetrate her. I hope you won't be torn by her claws first." Xiang Lu sneered. Cook closed his eyes. But before he closed his eyes, he finally said, "Xiang Lu, the club is very dissatisfied with your private action this time. You have got enough in the club. If you fail this time, the club wants me to tell you that we will get back what we invested in you." Xiang Lu narrowed his eyes at Cook and suddenly asked, "What is the club afraid of? Why do you choose to hide overnight and even stop so many activities?" Cook didn't open his eyes again to talk. Xiang Lu naturally didn't get the answer. He had to continue to eat the rest of the monster's bodies. The spells on the rock walls in the cave were getting dimmer and dimmer. Soon after, Xiang Lu left some parts of the two monsters' bodies and threw them into a pit in the center of the cave. There seemed to be something wriggling slowly in it. Xiang Lu narrowed his eyes and looked at the things in the pit, sneering, "The club's technology is very good. Grow up quickly." There were dozens of specks of light in the pit. They looked like eyes after eyes. With the light emitted by the spells in the cave, some dark red and sticky liquid could be vaguely seen in the pit. It covered the entire bottom of the pit, and in the center of the liquid there was a huge meatball. There were many strange parts on the meatball. There were hands, legs, horns, and so on. There were also different faces. There were many. Was she meddling in other people's business? Lizzie looked at the moon that was not so round, hiding in the corner of the dense vegetation under the tree. She didn't even know how far it was from the city. But even if she knew, she didn't have the strength to walk there. Lizzie subconsciously looked at her chest. There was a wound that couldn't be healed and kept taking away her life. Why was it like this? It was because when she was having fun in the Elysium world, she saw a rat monster talking with the liquor. She was curious, so she followed them. But she lost the rat monster here. She didn't find anything for a long time. Finally, she met two guys with horrible monster aura fighting here. "I'm really meddling in other people's business," Lizzie sighed. It was only because she couldn't bear to see one side being ambushed by the other side, so she lent a helping hand. But she ended up like this. As for the person she helped, she ran away without saying anything. Was there something wrong with the script? Even if they left temporarily, they would come back quietly to find out the truth. Finally, they found her and tried their best to heal her out of gratitude. "I really don't want to die in this dress." Lizzie looked at the hot pants and vest she was wearing. What the hell? This was obviously a little different from her ideal appearance when she died. She hoped that one day, she would be able to wear a white dress and lie tightly on the snow in a gentle snowy day. Perhaps it would be day or night, perhaps it would be night. Only after taking one last look at this world would she finally leave. Forget it, that's it. She had no relatives. She had no partners. She was always alone. It seemed that it was a good choice to leave quietly in such a deserted place where no one would find her in the future. Just take it as a long vacation that will never end. Lizzie slowly closed her eyes. Anyway, I will soon forget. She felt the cold. This was the second time she felt cold in her life. It turned out that she could feel such cold when she died. She suddenly felt extremely cold, but at this time, she seemed to become warm. It was the warmth of her consciousness, not her body. Because she knew that her body would never have heat. Even if ordinary people could feel it, it would only be an illusion. But she still felt something different from the cold. Since it was different, was it warmth? There was also a faint fragrance that she seemed to have smelled somewhere. It was so comfortable. I don't want someone to come home every day screaming that she will die of exhaustion and run away from home. Chapter 428. Luo Qiu wet the handkerchief with some water, and then gently wiped Lizzie's face to wipe away the dirt on her face. Lizzie was asleep. She looked very peaceful. This was an empty farmhouse nearby. It was very simple and crude, or rather, it was completely empty. Boss Luo felt that Lizzie would be fine even if she slept on the ground, so he just swept away the dust on the ground. Miss Maid pushed the door and came in. Luoqiu cleaned his hands and said, "She's in danger, so I'll do it myself. Don't bother yourself this time." Yu just smiled and glanced at Lizzie lying on the ground. If it wasn't Lizzie, it wouldn't be treated like this. Of course, Miss Maid who knew this wouldn't say it out. "Master, Xiang Lu's hiding place has been found. Although Xiang Lu is ordinary, I should be able to feel something if I get too close to him." Luoqiu nodded. "Anything else?" Yu Yi said, "In addition to the cooperator, there seems to be something else. It feels like something ugly, full of despair and wailing." "Yes," Luoqiu said indifferently, "it's an internal matter of the monster race. Since it's not a customer's request, it has nothing to do with us. Su Zijuan should be able to recover in a day or two. If there was any conflict between her and Xiang Lu, let them solve it by themselves. As long as the city won't be blown up, it's okay." Luoqiu turned around and took out a bottle of water. He put the bottle beside Lizzie, and then looked at Yu Yi. "Let's go to the last seal point. We can't let the unknown parties exert any pressure on it." The boss of the club left with Miss Maid. Lizzie would soon recover and wake up. She wouldn't know what she had experienced. As for Luoqiu, he didn't want to help Su Zijuan, nor would he stop Xiang Lu. He just didn't want to see the city that gave birth to him become a victim of the confrontation between the two parties. So, he and Yu Yi came to the third seal point, the deep underground of the city, a place that never saw the light of day. It should be very dark here. But here there was light, a very bright light. However, it was not the golden light emitted by the seal, but the light source called spiritual light, the light of the young and strong spirit vein itself. "It's so beautiful." Yu Yi sighed softly. They were like countless flowing gases but also like liquid water. They seemed to be bound by something, and flowed slowly in an orderly manner. Inside, countless specks of light flickered like stars, like a silver river of stars. The spirit vein was as big as a river. It was the first time for Luo Qiu to see something that only appeared in myths, so he was quite fascinated. He took Yu Yi and crossed the underground river in front of them. The spiritual vein seemed to be attached to the underground river. At this time, a water column suddenly shot out from the flowing underground river, turning into a platform that caught Luo Qiu and Yu Yi. Finally, it continued to rise, sending them to the nearest place to the underground ley line. Luoqiu couldn't help but reach out to touch the spiritual vein. When his palm went deep into the vein, Luoqiu suddenly lost his mind. He stood there quietly, as if his eyes could no longer see anything. Yu Yi opened her mouth slightly. She could feel that there was something wrong with her master, something very wrong. She looked at Luoqiu. His eyes began to moisten, and a drop of tear fell from his eyes. He was crying. This was the first time that Miss Servant Girl saw it with her own eyes. A bunch of black flames suddenly burst out in Yu Ye's palm, and then two more. Yu Ye opened her hands slightly, and the black flames on both sides began to become fiercer. She didn't need to know why her master was crying. She only needed to know that this spiritual vein made her master cry, because it was unforgivable. Don't. At the moment when the flame was about to touch the spiritual vein, Luocio reached out and grabbed Yu Ye's palm. His palm gently covered her palm, putting out the black flame. Luocio seemed to have turned around. He looked at Yu Ye and whispered, Don't hurt it. Master Yu, I'm fine. Luocio sighed softly and then smiled. He grabbed Yu Ye's palm again, and slowly put her palm into the spiritual vein. Let go, feel. She would do as her master said. No matter what he said, she would do it. So she closed her eyes, and used the soul in her body that gave her all the ability to think and act to feel seriously. From barren to green. From barren to fertile. From barren to gradually showing the first pair of footprints, the second pair of footprints, many footprints. Sweat, songs, lights, the lights of thousands of families. Joy, sadness, happiness, sadness, smiles, crying faces. Different faces. Different times, different clouds, different winds. Clouds gathered and scattered. Do you feel it? Luocio whispered in Yu Ye's ear. Its memory, the memory of this city, the memory of this land, its history, its everything, everything. From nothing to something, as if he had seen all the changes of this land, this city, from nothing to something, as if he had seen the growth of a life. Yu Ye opened her eyes and said in surprise, It has consciousness. Luocio nodded gently. Just like a baby, a magnificent soul is gestating in its body. It will mature and release unimaginable brilliance. Luocio raised his head, looking at everything he could see in this spiritual vein, even if it was only a very small part of it. He said, I want to see it. You accompany me. She found a bottle of water, and found the place where she slept. But the most surprising thing was that her injuries seemed to be completely healed. Lizzie began to think about many possibilities, but she seemed to have no other clues except this bottle of water. But she guessed that it was not the female monster she saved who came back to save her. But who could have saved her? A kind person passing by? A kind person with an ulterior motive? Or a bad person with an ulterior motive? Someone she knew? Someone she didn't know? Lizzie shook her head. She had tried to wait here for a long time, thinking that she could see the person who saved her. But as time went by, Lizzie could feel that she couldn't see him. She didn't die. It seemed to be something to be happy about? But Lizzie didn't look too happy. When it was almost dawn, Lizzie touched her stomach and decided to leave this place, because she knew that she would be hungry with just a bottle of water. Oh, I suddenly want to eat the porridge made by Sister Wren's baby, but the breakfast by the river is also very good. I have mixed feelings. Chapter 429. She wanted to go to Ren Xiling's house to eat the porridge made by Luocio. Of course, it was just a thought. Lizzie didn't have the habit of disturbing others early in the morning, so she went back to her rented apartment and changed her clothes. She bought a bag of food from the breakfast shop by the riverbank and then got on the ferry. She went to work. Let me add more sesame paste next time. In the elevator of the building where the newspaper office was located, Lizzie couldn't help opening the food box, smelling the food and licking her lip. Ding! The office building of the newspaper office arrived. Lizzie, who had just picked up a piece of rice noodle roll with a bamboo stick, suddenly dodged to the side. She saw a slipper flying directly from the door of the elevator. Lizzie was startled by the situation. She poked her head out of the elevator door and saw that the news agency was in a mess. Everyone was running around in a frenzy. Ren. Sister Ren? What's going on? Lizzie saw Ren Xiling in the office building, which was in a mess. At this time, Sub-Editor Ren was holding a rolled-up magazine in her hand. She was standing on a working table and giving orders as if it were a command arrow. Over there! Kill it! Over here, fourth mother, you go. You are shorter. Under the table. Yes, yes. Beat it. Shoot it. Fly the slipper. Hey Lizzie, you're back? Yes. Lizzie smiled and said, Sorry, I'm not feeling well these 2 days, so I suddenly asked for a leave. It's okay. Let's not talk about this. Come. You come too. Renziling jumped down and gave Lizzie an insecticide. I don't know what's wrong today. There are cockroaches and ants everywhere in the office. Even the rats ran out. Lizzie was stunned and looked around. She really saw a lot of corpses. She couldn't help but ask curiously, Is today a rodent extermination day? Renziling shook her head and said, I don't know. Anyway, I saw cockroaches everywhere when I came back. Didn't you see this morning's news? Many places were full of rats, as if they ran out from the sewer. I don't know what happened. The most I'm afraid is that there is a plague. Plague? Lizzie was stunned. I don't think so. It's not like this is the era of the Republic of China. Sigh. Let's not talk about it for now. Renziling suddenly looked at the time. You're back just in time. Go get your things and accompany me to the press conference. Oh, okay. Lizzie shrugged. What press conference? Feiyun Entertainment, Renziling said. Heaven's Shadow Entertainment has been reorganized and has a new boss. It's said that the owner's identity is very mysterious, but he should be a guy with a very strong background. Qing Yun adjusted the bow tie in front of the mirror, rubbed his hands and combed his hair. He felt that he had done it perfectly. At this time, his phone rang. It was his real boss, the young master of the Zhong family. Second young master, are you looking for me? Qing Yun put the phone to his ear and asked humbly. Are you ready? Don't worry, second young master, I've prepared everything. Qing Yun said seriously. This is the first shot of the new company. I'll do it well and won't mess it up. The second young master of the Zhong family naturally wouldn't show up. Qing Yun would be the director of the reorganized Feiyun Entertainment, representing the company to face all the media. That was today. The press conference would be held at 10:30 an hour later. Well, as long as there's no mistake, you can do whatever you want. Zhong Luochen said indifferently. Feiyun Entertainment is just the beginning of the new company. We've prepared for it for several months. Our partner, the Zhang family, is very nervous, so we have to do it well this time. Understood. Second young master, I understand. Qing Yun nodded and asked, By the way, second young master, Miss Zhang's people didn't come today? I heard that some of their warehouses were infested with rats today. The Zhang family's mansion was also in a mess. The old lady seemed to be scared and fell down. Zhong Luochen said weirdly, They are busy cleaning up, so they probably won't come. Speaking of which, it's really strange today. My place is also dirty. Second young master, I also killed 2 cockroaches. Qing Yun said discontentedly. I don't know what the municipal government is doing, making the atmosphere so foul. Well, let's not talk about the boring stuff. Good luck. I'll watch your live broadcast at home. Okay. Qing Yun smiled faintly, hanging up the phone and looking at himself in the mirror. Finally, I made some achievements, right? But he killed another cockroach. A slight shock. Some dust began to fall in the cave. At this time, Cook opened his eyes and stood up. He looked at the spell symbols that should have been lit up around the cave. The spell symbols had completely turned gray and lost their effect. Xiang Lu squinted his eyes. The first seal has been eroded, we should go to the second seal. This is a good start, isn't it? Take that thing. Cook glanced at the pit in the center of the cave, saying indifferently, I feel that we may encounter something at the second seal. Xiang Lu raised his eyebrows. Is this the sixth sense you often talk about? No. Cook suddenly glanced at the long stick wrapped in cloth in his hand, saying indifferently, It tells me. At the same time, a tremor appeared in the second cave, where the second seal was hidden under the riverbed. Su Zijuan opened her eyes, looking at the dust falling on her shoulder, squinting her eyes. You're quite fast. Xiang Lu. Su Zijuan sneered and stood up. The wounds on her body were almost healed thanks to the blood of Cain. In another 2 or 3 hours, she would be back to her best condition. Su Zijuan glanced at the front of her. There was a huge white cocoon here. Luo Dance was now in this big cocoon. Su Zijuan could feel the pure and vigorous demon power emitted from it. Luo Dance's body belonged to the kind of butterfly that contained demon power. The law of survival in nature was that the rarer the species, the stronger the ability to survive. Besides, she had helped Luo Dance to sort out the demon power at the beginning, so she was not afraid that Luo Dance couldn't bear it. It was only a matter of time. Su Zijuan touched the big cocoon gently, whispering, "You've broken the cocoon once and turned into a real demon. When you break the cocoon for the second time, it will be the real immortalization. Come on, little guy." With that, Su Zijuan exhaled slightly. The big cocoon in front of her suddenly began to sink slowly. The hard soil suddenly turned into mud, swallowing it little by little. Until it completely sank into the soil, everything returned to its original state again. Su Zijuan didn't intend to let Luo Dance participate in this battle with Xiang Lu, never. "Xiang Lu, I'm not Long Shiro. Come on, I'll wait for you." In the cave, there were many bloody shadows. The third seal point. The boss of the club seemed to be fascinated at once. His whole body had sunk into this ley line, allowing the huge flowing aura to wash his body. Luochio didn't cultivate, so the aura was useless to him. The mysterious power that originated from any system in the world didn't need to accept the aura. The boss even used the ability to directly twist this ley line, but these abilities couldn't bring him the memory of this land like this ley line at this moment. "Who are you?" He had heard a voice. Rather than a voice, it would be more accurate to say that it was a fragment of consciousness. This was actually not a language, but something that could be understood in the spirit. It came from the newborn and ignorant soul of this ley line. "Luochio, I'm Luochio. Luochio." This newborn consciousness seemed to have a trace of doubt, and some information flowed out again. "It's so strange. In my impression, there seems to be you, but I can't find you. There's something in this place. It just came here not long ago. What is it? I don't know. It feels very familiar." The newborn consciousness was still confused, but very strange. "It's the place where you are. The place where Luochio was. The place where the boss was." Chapter 430. There were only 2 boxes left, and he had to choose one out of the 2. It was another critical moment to decide his fate. This time, he had to pass the game. Staring at the computer screen, Sir Ma concentrated all his attention. Sir Ma had just returned from a vacation with his wife, so he had nothing to do these days. Wang Yuechuan, on the other hand, was nowhere to be seen. So playing Minesweeper was not a problem. Bang! Suddenly, the door was pushed open and the wall was hit. Sir Ma's hand shook. Boom! It exploded. "Ren Xiling, you and I are irreconcilable enemies. Lin Feng, it's you?" Sir Ma coughed and adjusted the tie on his collar. He said seriously, "Ahem, what do you want from me?" Sir Ma glanced at Ma Howd. Didn't he know that everyone in the department knew that he was not destined to pass the game? "Oh, Sir Ma, Director Liu asked us to go out and catch the rat." Lin Feng nodded. "Catch the rats?" Ma Howd was stunned. After a while, he slapped the table and stood up. "Old Liu's head was kicked by a donkey's hoofs? He asked us to catch the rats? Isn't this the responsibility of the Health Bureau?" "That's what I asked," Lin Feng said helplessly, "but the problem is that there are too many rats and cockroaches outside. We don't have enough manpower. Our whole department, the fire brigade, and the traffic police have all received the order to go out. According to Director Liu, if we don't have enough manpower, we might have to inform the defense area." Ma Howd frowned. He stepped back and pressed down the blinds with his hand. He glanced at the sky, only to find that the sunny day had suddenly darkened and a flock of birds were flying in the sky. They were crows. In the parking lot below the police station, a group of rats ran crazily. Damn, is this a plague? Surma frowned. What's going on in front? Is this a car crash or road repair? Renziling hit the horn on the steering wheel hard. The red Mini Clubman had been blocking the road for almost 30 minutes, but it hadn't even reached a single traffic light. I don't know. The road conditions didn't mention it. Lizzie turned the radio's knob and shook her head. It happened suddenly, right? Looks like we won't be able to make it. Renziling shook her head and looked at the time. The press conference was about to begin. I don't know how long we'll be stuck here. Lizzie, did something fly by just now? Really? Lizzie looked up at the sky through the windshield. It's going to rain, isn't it? It's getting dark. Yes, I saw it. Renziling frowned and said, It was a crow. It was a crow that flew past. Crow? Lizzie was stunned. She frowned and did not say anything. No one knew what she was thinking. Renziling shook her head. She opened the door and got off the car. She took a puff of smoke to get some fresh air. She leaned on the door, and many drivers did the same. Renziling sighed. Suddenly, she heard the sound of a dog barking. She saw a person walking his dog on the side of the road, pulling the dog's leash hard. His pet dog was barking crazily at this moment. It seemed that some animal sounds could be heard faintly. Sister Wren! Sister Wren! Lizzie suddenly shouted at this time. Renziling shuddered. She stuck her head into the car and asked, What's wrong? Lizzie pointed to the front of the window. Renziling looked at it subconsciously. She opened her mouth slightly and the cigarette fell. *T. In front of the road, between the cars, groups of rats were running crazily like carps crossing the river. Some even ran to other people's cars. Renziling picked up the phone subconsciously. Sister Wren, who are you looking for? Lizzie asked curiously. Renziling didn't raise her head. No, I'm a little worried. I didn't see Luaccio when I woke up today. He usually doesn't go out so early. It's a mess now. I'm worried about him, so I asked. Lizzie suddenly smiled bitterly. Sister Wren, your baby son is a grown man. He can take care of himself. Why don't you take care of yourself first? Your shoulder. What's wrong with my shoulder? Renziling turned her head and looked over. A small rat stood up with its forelimbs retracted. It was standing on her shoulder, blinking cutely as if it was saying hello. *T. Renziling suddenly swung her shoulder and threw the rat out. She turned around and kicked the rat out of the air. Lizzie, give me my baseball bat? Damn it! How dare you flirt with me? Lizzie directly turned over and stretched out her hand to the back seat. She couldn't help but smile. There were many women who were not afraid of rats, but she seemed to have met one who would directly hit the rat with a baseball bat. This was Renziling, the sub-editor Wren, who would always keep a baseball bat in the car, saying something like, just in case. The fishermen who were fishing by the river gathered together and stared at the spectacle on the river. Because they had been fishing here for many years, some even for more than 10 years. But they had never seen such a spectacle like today. A large number of river fishes emerged from the river and crazily swam in groups. More and more people gathered together and stared at the spectacle on the river. Naturally, no one noticed that at this moment, two rather strange men quietly came to the river bank. The bald Xiang Lu with purple eyebrows and the downtrodden Cuck. Xiang Lu narrowed his eyes and looked at the city on the other side of the river. He sneered and said, I smell the blood on Susie Juan. She is hiding here. Let's go, let's finish this quickly. Cuck said indifferently, the first seal has been unlocked, and the animals nearby feel uneasy. We must take away this ley line before the city is completely chaotic. The club doesn't want ordinary people to contact the supernatural for the time being. Any possibility of exposing the club's abnormality must be prevented. So cowardly, Xiang Lu disdainfully said. What's the difference between this and Long Shirua? She also advocated not to intervene in the lives of ordinary people. A dignified monster with great power has to hide in the human world. Are you looking down on human beings? Kuk said indifferently. This is not the Middle Ages, nor your ancient feudal kingdom. The technology mastered by human beings in this world is enough to bombard you into pieces. No matter how powerful a monster is, it can't resist a hydrogen bomb. Humph! Xiang Lu snorted and directly jumped into the river. The turbid and dark river couldn't stop Xiang Lu's steps at all. He only released a little bit of monster energy, which was enough to make the surrounding fishes scatter in panic. Xiang Lu led the way and easily came to a huge stone at the bottom of the river. He completely smashed the stone with one punch, revealing the passage, and the water poured in crazily. Xiang Lu and Kuk easily entered the depth of the passage with the help of the water. Finally, they came out at the end of the passage and came to the cave full of golden light. Xiang Lu and Kuk carefully looked around the cave. The terrain here was not complicated, and the golden light of the spell was enough to make the vision clear. Xiang Lu squinted his eyes and took 2 steps forward. He suddenly laughed and said, "Princess, I smell the blood of you. I know you're here, why don't you come out and talk about the old days?" There was no response, only Xiang Lu's voice echoed here. Xiang Lu chuckled again. "Princess," I said, "as long as you don't stop me, I won't trouble you. If you leave here now, we'll have nothing to do with each other. How about that? Princess, if you don't respond, I'll have to take it as a yes." Xiang Lu continued to take 1 step forward, but suddenly stopped. A beam of red light suddenly shot straight to Xiang Lu's feet, piercing the ground and leaving a small but unknown hole. "Princess, what do you mean?" Xiang Lu said indifferently. Su Zijuan's voice echoed around. "Xiang Lu, I'm the one asking you what you mean. This is my resting place. Do you dare to disturb me? Hurry up and kneel in front of me, kneel out. Kneel out, go, go." Su Zijuan's voice kept rippling in the cave, getting louder and louder, like thunder. "Over there." Kuk's eyes were fixed at this time, picking up a piece of gravel on the ground with a long object in his hand. The gravel was shot towards a direction at a terrifying speed, and finally hit a huge stalagmite on the side. The stalagmite was broken, and a figure slowly walked out, barefoot, in a red and black dress. It was Su Zijuan. "Princess, how are you?" Xiang Lu narrowed his eyes, but he was testing Su Zijuan's real condition. She seemed not as ugly as he imagined. But Kuk's golden light did hit her so, he didn't know whether she was holding on or was fine. "Xiang Lu." Su Zijuan smiled and said in a low voice, "Aren't you going to kneel down when you see me?" Xiang Lu was stunned, and his mind seemed to slow down for a moment. His legs were slightly bent, and he was about to kneel down on the ground. But at this time, Kuk knocked the ground with the long stick in his hand. The sound of the collision brought Xiang Lu back to reality. He looked at Su Zijuan, and a trace of shame and anger flashed in his eyes, but he restrained himself well, smiling faintly. "It's not too late to salute Princess after I finish today's matter." "Meddlesome human!" Su Zijuan snorted, waving her sleeves. A red figure rushed to Kuk's front like a gust of wind. Kuk's reaction was also extremely fast. The long rod in his hand immediately blocked in front of his body, but the great impact still pushed his body crazily. In the end, Kuk's body hit the rock wall, and only then did he stop. A trace of blood flowed out of Kuk's mouth, and his expression suddenly became dignified. Xiang Lu was shocked at this moment. "Princess, it seems that your monster power has reached a higher level." "Reached a higher level?" Su Zijuan sneered disdainfully. "Ignorant guy." Su Zijuan's hair was slightly fluttering, and the scarlet monster power kept bursting out from her body, which made Xiang Lu tremble slightly. Her body floated up, and the horrible monster power turned into a huge blooming blood lotus under her feet. "This is the original me." At the same time, Xiang Lu and Kuk, who were shocked by Su Zijuan's horrible monster power, both of their faces turned ugly. Xiang Lu's eyes began to move, and he was thinking about something quickly. At this time, he heard Kuk's voice, "Xiang Lu, you erode the seal. Leave this monster to me." "Okay." Xiang Lu nodded, and agreed without any hesitation. Wishful thinking. Su Zijuan snorted, and suddenly stretched out her hand. The dark red monster power around her suddenly turned into a huge claw, clawing at Xiang Lu. But at this moment Kuk shouted, and the long stick in his hand emitted a golden light. He jumped out, and smashed the long stick on the bloody claw. But as if it was cut, the claw condensed by monster power was split into two in an instant, and Kuk took the opportunity to stand in front of Xiang Lu. Su Zijuan sneered. "It seems that the one who sneak attacked me that day was you. Well, I'll get even with you today. I also want to have a taste of it." Kuk wiped the blood on the corner of his mouth, and inserted the long stick in his hand into the ground, standing upright like an iron tower. "You only know how to sneak attack?" Su Zijuan waved her sleeves, and took a step forward. "No." Kuk took a deep breath and said in a low voice, "It's me and my partner." At this moment, Kuk's hand suddenly twisted, and the long rod he was holding suddenly burst out with an even more intense golden light. And those strips of cloth wrapped around it also completely burst apart at this moment. It was a huge scarlet spear. "Kill the enemy with me again," Kuk suddenly shouted. Gibalg. Chapter 431. As soon as the red spear in Kuk's hand revealed its posture, a sharp feeling vaguely appeared on her skin all over her body. Even though there was a distance between them, she could still clearly feel the sharpness of the red spear. It was difficult for ordinary humans to deal with monsters, but modern times were different from ancient times. Humans with firearms in their hands could also cause damage to monsters, and humans with such strange weapons might be a threat to monsters. "You're not from Kelowna." Su Zijuan narrowed her eyes and suddenly said, "But I know you're from a place called Club." Kuk frowned, but said indifferently, "I didn't expect that the monster princess from the east also knows where I'm from." Su Zijuan said indifferently, "Of course I have my sources of information. Do you think your club is the most mysterious place?" Of course, this information was not obtained for free. This information was bought with 2,000 evil spirit beasts' souls. There's a saying in the East, "It's useless to say more." Kuk waved the thousand-thorn spear in his hand and leaned forward slightly. "My partner has never drunk the blood of the big monster from the East." The thousand-thorn spear drew a line on the ground, and a golden light directly rushed toward Su Zijuan along the ground. Su Zijuan calmly condensed her monster power into a wall to block it. She could despise Kuk, but she couldn't despise the strange weapon in his hand. This spear emitted a murderous aura all the time. This was a real magic spear that had drunk the blood of countless powerful individuals, and even had traces of life, as if it had its own will. This reminded Su Zijuan of the ancient Kelowna monks. When the monsters and the monks were in a hostile state in ancient times, the monks in Kelowna had made many powerful weapons to deal with the monsters. They called these weapons divine weapons. Kuk knew that speed was the key to victory. At this time, he found the right time, and held the thousand-thorn spear horizontally in his hand. He slightly leaned forward and instantly rushed toward Su Zijuan like a leopard. At the same time, the thousand-thorn spear in his hand stabbed out, like a man facing thousands of soldiers and horses. It was a kind of momentum that was indomitable. Su Zijuan felt a kind of warrior's temperament from Kuk's body. She didn't know the background of the thousand-thorn spear, so she didn't dare to underestimate it. The red monster power from her two hands quickly flowed into her hands, and each of them turned into a blood-red sword. Su Zijuan's bare feet sliding on the ground, she suddenly stopped before the thousand-thorn spear arrived. The blood-red sword in front of her face suddenly flashed and accurately blocked Kuk's attack. At the same time, the blood-red sword that blocked the thousand-thorn spear was completely shattered. But Su Zijuan didn't panic. She half-squatted, and the blood-red sword in her other hand madly stabbed out, making an excellent block and instant counterattack. But Cuck had been in charge of the thousand-thorn spear for many years, and all his skills came from a mysterious place. Seeing this situation, he suddenly turned his body, and the blood-red sword swept past his waist. He kicked the end of the thousand-thorn spear's handle, and hit Susie Juan's chest with the end of the spear. Clang! The monster power sword and the thousand-thorn spear collided, and instantly shattered. Susie Juan's legs slightly moved, and she retreated nearly 3 meters. This fight only happened in the blink of an eye, and both sides were still testing each other's strength. Susie Juan suddenly smiled, and said with a smile, "Nice spear, it's a real magic weapon." Cuck was expressionless, but he clenched the thousand-thorn spear. His palm was slightly numb. Again, bang bang bang. Invisible airflow began to fill the whole cave. There were no plants here, so the only way to describe the airflow was the whistling sound of the wind that filled the cave at the same time. Xiang Lu had quietly left the place when Cuck was holding Susie Juan. Even though he was far away, Xiang Lu could still feel the movement when they were fighting. The club claimed that there were 12 immortal generals, and Cuck was only one of them. But he could fight with Susie Juan to this extent with a strange spear of unknown origin. Xiang Lu had his own plan. He and the club behind Cuck were just temporary partners, and his ultimate goal was to break through the limit and become a real big monster. Based on the uniqueness of the Xiang Lu family, once they became a big monster, they would be able to obtain unparalleled power. Under the situation where the Reiki of the godly land was getting thinner day by day, the Xiang Lu bloodline that didn't rely heavily on the Reiki of the godly land might be able to deal with Long Shiruo, the last true dragon of the godly land. As for the club? For Xiang Lu, it was just a stepping stone to success. Xiang Lu sneered and suddenly turned his back. His head suddenly swelled and turned into a huge snake head. Then, his neck began to swell, and something was spat out from his throat. A huge meatball was spat out from Xiang Lu's mouth, and fell on the ground, and began to wriggle slowly. This was the key to unlocking the seal. At this moment, tentacles began to extend from this ugly meatball, and then pierced into the soil. Xiang Lu sneered, and his head returned to its original state. He wiped off the liquid on the corner of his mouth, and then approached the place where Susie Juan and Cuck were fighting. He shouted loudly from afar, "Cuck! I'll help you. After dealing with Susie Juan, we'll slowly erode the seal here." Cuck was confused, but he didn't say anything. He didn't refuse or agree, but waved the thousand-thorn spear in his hand, and his body shone with golden light. Susie Juan glanced at Xiang Lu and snorted. She suddenly gave up attacking Cuck and turned to Xiang Lu. "If you want to die, I'll kill you first." Xiang Lu laughed. "Your Highness, you have to protect the seal from being destroyed and deal with us at the same time. Can you handle it?" Why was the cave still intact after such a long fight? Of course, it was because Susie Juan had been protecting it during the fight. "We're unscrupulous. But you're restrained everywhere. Even if you have powerful monster power, so what?" Xiang Lu sneered and smashed his fist on the floor of the cave. "You think you're not afraid because you've recovered, but you didn't expect to be trapped in your own trap, right?" Susie Juan didn't say anything. She just used her monster power to stop Xiang Lu from destroying the cave. She didn't say anything. Xiang Lu squinted his eyes and said, "Is the princess planning to hide this place and not expose it in front of human beings? Ah, that's why I said the monster race has fallen to such a low level. The attention of human beings can make a princess worry so much. It's so boring. We monster race should be the masters of this world." Susie Juan snorted. "That's why I hate you radicals so much. You just want to make trouble every day. Don't you think about the real reason why human beings can reproduce while monster race is getting weaker day by day?" At the moment when Susie Juan and Xiang Lu were confronting each other, a sudden sharp light had already shot to Susie Juan's back. The red body was wrapped in a golden flame-like airflow. Cuck took this opportunity to throw out a blow with all his strength, piercing any enemy's heart, the extremely powerful special ability of the Thousand-Thorn Spear. The Thousand-Thorn Spear easily pierced through the monster power around Su Zijuan's body. At the moment when it was about to pierce her heart, Su Zijuan's eyes turned extremely red. She gritted her teeth and shouted, "Jiuzhou! Xian Yuan!" Inside the cave, colorful lights shone brightly in an instant, obscuring all sight. There was only a loud sound. Rumble! In the red flowing lava, a graceful figure suddenly stopped. It was Long Shirua, who had been tracking the changes of the earth vein. At this moment, Long Shirua suddenly gave up tracking the changes and broke through the lava. "You idiot, calling it with Hanba's body. Do you want to die?" Long Shirua suddenly put her finger into her lips and bit it hard. Golden blood flowed out from her fingertips and began to condense into strange patterns around her body like word. Shinryu's secret skill. So near, yet worlds apart. The third seal point. Luoqiu heard its sad voice. The aura in the underground ley line began to flow crazily. He could feel the consciousness that it constantly emitted. Luoqiu seemed to hear it ask, "Why do you want to destroy this land? Why?" At the end of the huge underground ley line, where Luoqiu was, a faint light began to gather in front of him. The light was not big and finally turned into a human shape. It was only as tall as Luoqiu and looked like a child. It didn't have a face, only a pair of golden eyes. It opened its mouth, which was a language. "Is it not enough to live here, survive here, and leave one's mark on this land? Why do you want to destroy it? The life of humans, the life of demons, flowers, trees, fishes. What is it for?" "I don't know, what is this feeling?" Golden tears dripped from the golden eyes. It approached Luoqiu and said sadly, "Can you stop all this? I don't want to see these creatures that I've been watching disappear in front of me just like that. If I'm the one who's bringing destruction to it, then I'd rather I never existed." The sorrow of the ley line. The sorrow of the earth that people lived in but couldn't hear. They rang in Luoqiu's ears like the wind. It was pure to the extreme. There was no desire to fight, no hatred, and no disgust. It only had a clear thought like snow and clear water. It only wanted to protect this land that gave birth to it. It gave creatures a place to rest and recuperate, gave creatures a space to pass on their lives, but it still had to bear the destruction of it. And now it still wanted to stop all this. Luoqiu smiled and suddenly reached out to hold its hand. "Are you not afraid of me?" It shook its head, its eyes firm. It knew what firm was. Chapter 432. The people who were watching the surging school of fish at the edge of the river began to widen their eyes. Someone adjusted his glasses and subconsciously said, "Is there something under the water? Aren't they all fish?" "No. There seems to be something, look, bubbles." Some bubbles began to emerge from the bottom of the river. At the same time, the fish in the river became crazier and jumped out of the water. "There seems to be something. Run!" Suddenly, a scream was heard. The surface of the river suddenly swelled up a little, as if something was breaking through. In the blink of an eye, the river that had just swelled up suddenly erupted like a volcano, and a huge water column shot up into the sky. The water column that soared into the sky stirred up the river completely. The churning river water rushed to the riverbank and was washed away by the people here. At this moment, the air was filled with the fishy smell of the river water and mist. Even the fishes in the river were washed up into the river. After the water column disappeared, the river gradually calmed down, but it was still very muddy. What happened under the embankment? Pipeline gas explosion? Is there a gas pipe here? I don't know, but I don't care so much. Pick up the fish. To the commoners, this was like a river fish that fell from the sky. Everywhere there were fresh, fat, and lively river fishes. Suddenly, some people hurriedly picked up the fish, while others disdained this behavior. Braving the danger of being drenched and not knowing if there would be another wave of fish, they raised their mobile phones and took pictures of the muddy river, looking forward to seeing the spectacle just now again and discussing the reason for it. But the river was too muddy, and no one could see clearly what was in it. The crazy river began to pour into the second seal. After the colorful light appeared, the entrance of the cave expanded several times and formed a huge passage. The river poured in and covered the feet of Xiang Lu and Kuk. The two partners looked terrible at this time. Xiang Lu covered his chest and spat out a mouthful of blood, again and again, as if he couldn't stop. And Kuk looked at the thousand-thorn spear in his hand seriously. There was a gap at the tip of the spear, a gap that had been cut out. The thousand-thorn spear had been passed down for many years and had never been broken, but now it was broken in his hand. What is that? Kuk slightly raised his head. At this time, Su Zijuan's long hair was swaying in the air. She opened her hands and the dark red monster power around her body was like the waves in the sea. But she looked extremely uncomfortable, and in front of Su Zijuan, there was a sword bathed in colorful light. Kuk had seen many ancient swords. Only this ancient sword made him feel a sense of submission. It was a feeling that he had to kneel down in front of the king. Only by holding the thousand-thorn spear in his hand and landing on the ground, could he resist the instinctive impulse of his body. Kelowna, no, the most powerful weapon in ancient Jiuzhou. Jiuzhou Xianyuan sword. Xiang Lu finally stopped vomiting blood with a shocked face. I didn't expect that she can call it Jiuzhou Xianyuan sword? Kuk deeply frowned. Xiang Lu narrowed his eyes and said weakly, Do you feel the desire to kneel down? This is the power of Jiuzhou Xianyuan. Because it's the sword of human relations, the sword of the Emperor. The sword of the Emperor. Kuk, I don't know the origin of your spear, but I can say that your spear is only fluorescent before Jiuzhou Xianyuan. Kuk snorted. Xiang Lu gritted his teeth. Can't you hear the sad cry of your spear? More than sad cry? The thousand-thorn spear was clearly still trembling with its own will. Kuk took a deep breath, holding the thousand-thorn spear tightly to support himself up. He even put his palm on the spear and cut a line of blood. What do you want to do? Shoot her. Kuk calmly said. Xiang Lu struggled to stand up. Don't. Su Zijuan is no longer a member of Xianyuan royal family. Jiuzhou Xianyuan is the nemesis of all monsters. She just barely called it out. Don't you see her situation now? That's why I have to take this opportunity, Kuk said decisively. Xiang Lu angrily said, Except for Xianyuan royal family, no one can suppress Jiuzhou Xianyuan. Its power is not something you can imagine. In the ancient legend of Xiang Lu, Jiuzhou Xianyuan's power is enough to destroy the world. If you shoot her now, once Jiuzhou Xianyuan goes out of control, let alone the ley line, we won't be able to leave this place alive. Then what do you think we should do? Kuk stopped. Xiang Lu frowned. When Jiuzhou Xianyuan came out, its power exploded. She tried her best to reverse its leaking power, barely keeping the seal of this cave and letting the power leak to the riverbed outside. But it seems that Su Zijuan can't hold it for long. We have to leave this place at once. If Su Zijuan can't control Jiuzhou Xianyuan and Jiuzhou Xianyuan explodes, the seal here will also be destroyed. Let's go to the third seal point now. Whether we can take the ley line or not depends on our luck. Kuk frowned. In the end, he nodded and said unwillingly, All right. Indeed, he could feel how terrifying the Jiuzhou Xianyuan under the colorful light was. Maybe it was an illusion. Since he gave up the idea of continuing to attack, the thousand-thorn spear seemed to be relaxed. Before the river completely flooded in, Xiang Lu pulled Kuk and the two of them quickly left under the riverbed. Su Zijuan could see all this, but at this moment, she couldn't move at all. Jiuzhou Xianyuan in front of her was like a volcano that would explode at any time, and she was a layer of film that wrapped this huge volcano, as if it would break at any time. Blood slowly flowed out from Suzy Juan's 5 orifices, which made her deeply understand what it meant to reap what she sowed. Perhaps like what Xiang Lu said, if she didn't care about the existence of the monster race in the secular world, she wouldn't have ended up like this. Xianyuan, do you know that if you expel the monster blood from my body, I will die immediately? Can't you go to hell to find your master? Suzy Juan spat out another mouthful of blood, looking at Jiuzhou Xianyuan with a bitter smile. But the expanding power was getting stronger and stronger. Suzy Juan bitterly smiled. Unexpectedly, Xiang Lu's words came true. She was trapped in a cocoon of her own making. But at least not here. Suzy Juan stared down. If the power of Jiuzhou Xianyuan exploded here, then Luo Dance, who was hiding in the depths of the earth, would also. Only this little guy. Suzy Juan didn't want to see her die without seeing a new day. Suzy Juan suddenly gritted her teeth, looking up and staring at the top of the cave. If the power of Jiuzhou Xianyuan was brought to the surface, everyone had a scale in their heart. At this moment, Suzy Juan's scale was obviously inclined to the side that was more important to her. Old woman, if you want to settle accounts with me, wait until you die. Suzy Juan suddenly shouted and dragged Jiuzhou Xianyuan up to the sky while shedding tears of blood. I'll settle accounts with you now. In the sound of the river, a furious voice suddenly sounded. In the corner of the cave, the air seemed to be distorted. A figure quickly shot out from the distortion. He came to Suzy Juan. Old woman, you, don't talk nonsense. I'll suppress Jiuzhou Xianyuan for you. Kick it back. Long Shirua said, and then grabbed the blade of Jiuzhou Xianyuan with both hands. Okay. Long Shirua's pupils suddenly turned golden. Golden scales began to appear on her hands and 2 huge dragon horns grew out of her forehead. Jiuzhou Xianyuan, I'll protect the land of Kelowna and you'll protect the people of Kelowna. Don't resist me. Be quiet. Her hands that were covered with dragon scales were now cut by the sharp blade, and a large amount of golden blood began to cover the blade of Jiuzhou Xianyuan. Like a seal, it was gradually covered by the powerful multicolored light. Long Shirua's face suddenly turned pale. Suzy Juan now held the hilt of the sword with both hands and restrained her demon power. The 2 of them began to slowly descend. The river below began to spiral and finally turned into a whirlpool, revealing a clean land. Suzy Juan held the hilt of the sword and slowly inserted the blade into the ground. The 2 of them were completely focused, fearing that there would be a slight deviation. In just a few seconds, they were already sweating profusely. Finally, the most powerful divine weapon of the ancient 9 regions, Jiuzhou Xianyuan's blade, was completely inserted into the ground, and at this moment, it completely disappeared without a trace. Suzy Juan and Long Shirua collapsed on the ground at the same time. Long Shirua wiped her sweat and said with lingering fear, "That was close. If I was half a step late, no one would be able to take the blame." Long Shirua fiercely stared at Suzy Juan and said angrily, "Girl, is your head caught in the door? How dare you call Jiuzhou Xianyuan out? Before that, can you put on your clothes first?" Suzy Juan replied calmly, but there was a look of gratitude in her eyes. Long Shirua was angry. "Do you think I have time to put on my clothes? Who knows where I was at that time? I felt that Jiuzhou Xianyuan was taken out by you. I spat out a mouthful of blood and came here in a hurry. So near, yet worlds apart. Shinryu's secret technique." Suzy Juan smiled bitterly and said softly, "You've lost a lot of strength because of suppressing Jiuzhou Xianyuan for me. I'm sorry." "You actually know." Long Shirua took a deep breath and her anger seemed to be half gone. She shook her head and said, "What happened? Why is it in this sealed place?" "Xiang Lu is back," Suzy Juan said seriously. "What?" Long Shirua frowned, but at this moment, Long Shirua also spat out a mouthful of blood directly on Suzy Juan's face. Something had pierced through her chest. It was a reddish-brown object that looked like a tree branch.